No, you can take this. It's up here if you need it. This is for you. This was a copy of the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna have a presentation tonight. right?
Yes. Yeah, but it's going to be like abridged. So
Okay.
that's like the longer.
This was the one you had for me?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was wondering why I got the long cord.
We are live.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just tell them we're ready. I think they'll come on.
Ready when you are, Cable. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your weekly Board of Selectmen's meeting. It is Wednesday, May 30th. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. It will be broadcast live on Channel 9, both this evening live and throughout the week on replay. And it will also be placed on YouTube as well. At this time, I ask everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So at this time, we are going to have a short presentation by the Green Communities Grant Committee Chairman, Mr. John Gray. We did just have a public hearing at 6 p.m. At Town Hall regarding the Stretch Energy Code bylaw, which has been placed on the warrant to be voted on at the town meeting on June 4th. But I also asked the chairman to be here to give a short presentation, sort of like a summary for the public who may not have been able to attend. So at this time, I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Jonathan Gray. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Get comfortable. And do you mind pushing that over here and then
If you, yeah, so you can get the mic.
it's usually set up. Yep. No, you can leave it there.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds good.
There you go.
I'll try to talk into it as best as possible. Thank you very much. As Brett mentioned, my name's John Gray. I've lived in Dighton for nearly 25 years. Currently a resident of Taunton, but I've been working on this committee for now 1.5 years, almost. We were appointed in January of 2017, and basically we are working on the Green Communities Program, which is a state program offered through the Department of Energy Resources that basically helps communities address energy conservation measures. So they basically work to help communities save energy, save on energy costs, and also reduce their environmental impact. So far, over $85 million has been awarded in total to towns and cities throughout Massachusetts, and that's both for grants for green community designation, which is like an initial grant that a city or town would get, and then there's also a competitive grant process after that that towns can apply for if they have a specific project, and they can also get funding for that. Every resident should have received a mailer in their mailbox over the past couple of days, talking a little bit about what the stretch code is. But a few more things about sort of the Green Communities Program. So The projects being funded would include electric and thermal energy conservation measures, so things like new boiler for a school building or weatherizing buildings like the fire station or something like that to save on energy costs. If Dighton were to be designated a green community, we would probably be looking at a grant of around $150,000. And then later on in the future, like I said, there's a competitive grant process, so we could potentially apply for a grant in the amount of around $250,000. And so there's several communities around here that have racked up close to $400,000 or $500,000 in grant funding so far. Our committee has actually received a $7,500 grant already, and that money is going to basically help to pay for or fully pay for one of our technical assistance partners, Serpid. They're going to be doing an audit of all our municipal buildings to see where we're currently at with our energy use and sort of developing a plan of how we could address our energy use. So sort of targeting buildings that are using up the most amount of energy, like our schools, and figuring out the best ways to use grant funding to address that. In order to become a green community, there's 5 criteria, which I'm not going to go into. One of those criteria is the passage of stretch code, stretch building code at town meeting. So we currently have a base code, which if you're doing any sort of construction project in town, you have to build your house or your building to the base code. And this would just add a couple extra stipulations to that, and so it's called the stretch code. And it's basically just a little bit sooner adoption of the base code, as our Green Communities coordinator has sort of indicated is what has happened so far. Types of construction that the stretch code would apply to include residential new construction and commercial, so all residential new construction, and then commercial and industrial new construction over 100,000 square feet. So large projects like a big box store, like a Home Depot or something like that, that would fall under the stretch code. There is a small exception for laboratories and supermarkets that are greater than 40,000 square feet that would also fall under the stretch code. Existing residential homes, additions and renovations are not applicable to the stretch code. That's sort of a misconception. So you're not going to have to do anything new to your house. You can have your house just the way you like it. And you know, if you're going to be doing a small repair or something like that, all you would have to do is follow the current existing base code. It's only if you're building a whole new house or a whole new structure that you would be using this stretch code. So there's a couple common misconceptions about the stretch code, and I'm just going to address some of them. And the first one is that town residents are going to have to, update their homes. They're not. The stretch code is new and experimental. It's not true. It's based on Energy Star, which has been around for over 20 years. There's a common misconception again that it requires tight and unhealthy homes, and that's just not true. The Massachusetts base and stretch code require sufficient air changes to maintain healthy buildings. And then there's another common misconception that spray foam is required to meet the stretch code, and that's also not true. Properly installed fiberglass insulation and proper weather sealing can meet stretch code requirements. So most of the questions you might have would probably be answered on the mailer that you got in the mail. If you have other questions, we've got an email address, which is greendighton@gmail.com. But before you do email us, I would recommend going to our website. On the town's website, I think you would navigate to appointed boards and committees, and then the Green Communities Grant Committee would be where you would find information on what the stretch code is. We had a presentation today about it, and we're going to be uploading the slides from that presentation, which has a lot of great information on it. We're going to be uploading that probably today or tomorrow, so that'll be on there shortly for you to review. You could also visit our Facebook page and send us a message there. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them today or via message later on. But that's sort of an introduction to the stretch code. And so this will be voted on June 4th at town meeting. We're happy to answer questions as much as possible beforehand so we can sort of stream right through it at town meeting.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do we lose local control if we become a stretch energy code community?
No. So when you pass a stretch code, it's for a city or a town, they have to approve it. So we'll be approving it or denying it at town meeting. If we were to approve it, we could go back and disapprove it at the next town meeting. We could, remove the stretch code from our laws and regulations if we so choose. There's about 230 or 40, I can't remember the exact number. It's constantly increasing, is why I can't recall the exact number right now. But over in the past few years, there's been 30 towns or so that have joined on. So there's a huge amount of towns that have already implemented the stretch code. It's well over the majority of municipalities in the Commonwealth, and none of them so far have pulled back the stretch code. So I would say that no, we would not lose control locally.
Have you spoken to any building commissioners in other towns that have the stretch code about it?
Yeah, so part of our exploratory process as part of the Green Communities Grant Committee was to do some investigation on other towns in the area, as much as possible, towns similar to Dighton. So I was tasked with calling Acushnet. So Acushnet implemented the stretch code, I want to say 2014 maybe. And I talked to their building inspector, and again, Acushnet's very close by, very similar population to Dighton. And he had really nothing bad to say about the stretch code. He basically said that, initially there was a little bit of a misunderstanding about it. Some of the developers in town weren't really understanding, all of the regulations because it was, back then there was not too many stretch code towns in our area. Right now there's a lot. But they were, there was initial, but ever since there's been no problems. He said that the builders actually enjoy the program now because as a part of the program, there's an independent person called a HERS rater, which stands for Home Energy Rating System. They basically come in and help the home builder find ways to save energy or save money as well. And they can actually save the builder money on energy rebates, so they can apply for rebates for the builder. And then the homeowners, the building inspector in Acushnet said that he had spoken to, most of the homeowners had said to him that they were more attracted to the homes themselves because they were more energy efficient. And so, yes, you might have to pay a little bit extra at the very beginning of building your house, but you save more money in that first year. So at the end of year one, you're already saving money, and that savings continues into year 2, 3, 4, and until you sell the house and you can no longer reap the energy savings.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any questions, Selectman Goulart or Mel?
When did you send out the mailer? I have a post office box and I haven't gotten one.
So there might have been a glitch where we actually weren't able to get it out to the post office boxes. We did a every door direct mailing through the post office. So that went to, I want to say, around 2,700 addresses throughout the town. But the post office boxes might have actually been an oversight. I think I talked to one individual who hadn't received it. So we've got the mailer here at Town Hall. If you have a post office box, you can come and pick it up in the lobby. But yeah, we do apologize for not having that in the post office boxes as
If you
well.
do any future mailing, just check with Karen, because that's how we get the warrants out, and everybody gets them.
Yeah.
So you just need to know how that warrant was addressed. I think it's resident.
Yeah, so it's a little bit, what we did was a every door direct mailing, and Karen does I actually spoke to her about it, she does a bulk mailing. It's a little bit different in terms of the post office. So
It wasn't a bulk mailing then?
it's not technically a bulk mailing, it's actually a little bit of different program. It's like more of a retail
You
program.
didn't get it at your house?
But-
I got it like the day
No,
after.
I have a post office box, so I get
Oh, you
everything
don't
at the
get,
post
okay,
office.
I understand now.
I do a lot of bulk mailing
Mm-hmm.
for my church, and it's the cheapest way to go also. And we do addressed bulk mailing.
Yeah.
Okay, not just, so.
Sure.
But the other question I had was, on the average, everyone uses the average home. Let's say a $350,000 home in Dayton. And that doesn't include the land, obviously. What would the average cost increase be from where we are now, and what would that, so if the house costs $350,000 to build right now, what would the additional cost be? Because the last time this came up, I think one of the reasons it was defeated was the increase in cost.
Sure.
Do you have anything?
So that is very well addressed in the back few pages of the presentation that we had tonight. So that'll be available at some point on the website, so you can review this yourself. But the back few pages of it basically goes over several different types of construction. Some of it, the first one on here is an electric heat pump. The next one on here is, I should say it's a 2,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, single-family home with an electric heat pump in Worcester, Massachusetts. That was one that they did a rating for, and the costs were $2,360. The rebate,
Additional.
yes, the additional cost for that home was $2,360. The energy company, so in Dayton it would be National Grid, the energy company rebate was $1,900. And then the energy savings in the first year were $704. So the year one cash flow was $621.
Okay.
But
I need to
that's,
stop you right there.
yeah, absolutely.
What could the people who live in the TMLP district expect for a rebate, if anything?
I believe that TMLP has rebates. I'm not sure of the exact amounts on them. Our Green Communities Regional Coordinator might be able to answer that, but that's a question I don't actually have an answer to.
Well, let's speak to, sure, Mr. Pickering? This is the Green Community. Yeah, absolutely.
Come up
This
to
is
the
the Green Communities Regional Coordinator, Mr. Seth Pickering.
Thank you very much. Seth Pickering, Department of Energy Resources, Green Communities Division, Regional Coordinator for the Southeast Region. So to go back to your initial question, the cost, $350,000 home, you said without the cost of the land? Probably cost you about an extra $1,000 up front to build that house,
With the energy code?
to do the stretch code.
Okay.
And then with your rebates and incentives, some of that would be offset. But you'd probably be, in total, your net extra cost would be about $500, something like that.
All right, so initially you'd be an additional 1,000, which you would, over a period of time, hopefully get back in savings.
You would.
Now, you mentioned a rebate. How does,
So the rebate question, so all the Mass Save rebates are available in investor-owned utility territory, but if you were building that brand-new house in TMLP territory, those rebates
no
and incentives
rebates.
would not be available to you on the electric side of things, but if you're a Columbia Gas customer, which I believe you would be, then you're eligible for the thermal rebates that would be available. So it's hard for me to give you, I don't want to guess, but there would be some potential rebates and incentives available.
so now I'm going to ask about getting it from both. If your supplier for electricity is National Grid, and Columbia Gas is the only gas company, natural gas company in town, could you get rebates from both?
So you would. It would depend on what you were applying for the rebates for. Whether it was electric equipment, it would be through it would be through Mass Save, and it would be through your electric provider. But if it was a thermal measure, like a more efficient boiler that burns natural gas, then it would basically be through Columbia Gas, who is a member of Mass Save, as what they call a program administrator, a PA.
Okay,
Good?
good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much, sir.
Questions? I think we have a question in the audience. Ms. Piazza.
Just thinking about Vicky Piazza, 221 Summer Street. Follow up on that question, I live in DMLP, and they're very limited in the rebates, and the last time I checked, it was more of an appliance rebate, so in the last you'd be adding new appliances. And they were limited on the amount per year.
Right.
But you'd still be saving from
I'm
the
saying
energy.
TMOP didn't give you any rebates. I
But
didn't say
they
that.
will for appliances.
Yeah, but not for the new construction program.
Yeah, for the new construction, right?
Right.
And
Any
you will
other
save
questions?
energy with that.
Correct, and you'll get your money back. Correct? Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Right, and I should clarify here, Seth, you mentioned the $1,000 extra price tag. That rebate would actually happen even, that would go to the builder of the home. So if you were building the home yourself, you would get it in the beginning of the project, or I guess towards the end of finishing the house. So it would be more closer to the 500 amount that you would be sort of paying up front, and then every month you would have a realized savings. So by the end of year one, then you would be in the green, so to speak, and then every year from then on, you would be also in the green.
Okay, we know it doesn't affect existing structures. If a person were to do a major overhaul, like replace a heating system, and that system is now more efficient and would fall, I want to say its installation would fall under the stretch energy code. Are there rebates, or are those things that homeowners would contact, whether it's the gas company or whoever, to get?
So if you're a homeowner and you're putting in a new boiler, that would not fall under the stretch code. That would just be
Okay.
base code.
Okay.
So it would just have to be, what you normally would have to do.
But even with those, sometimes you can get some kind of assistance
Right,
from
right. So-
the energy company.
Right, so the energy company, if it's an Energy Star appliance that you're
Yeah.
installing, then you could get, a check for $50 or $75, depending on, the amount of it goes with however much you're spending, you're sort of getting a proportional amount back in your rebate. So that's sort of how it works.
Okay.
But no, yeah, if you're just installing a new boiler or something like that, it does not fall under the stretch code.
Okay.
Did you have any questions, Madam Administrator?
I don't.
Was Bridgewater a green community? No. Okay. Any other questions, public? All right.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
did
very
a
much.
great job. And again, just to reiterate Chairman Gray's initial statements, we will put the Green Communities Program PowerPoint in its entirety on the Green Communities Grant Committee webpage to make sure you have all the information that you need to make an informed decision. All right. We are a little late, and I apologize, but next on our agenda is the appointment of John Boulay as intern to the town accountant. Madam Administrator.
Mr. Boulay was supposed to be here tonight, but so that you could meet him. I believe that you have his resume. Mr. Boulay actually found us. He had emailed myself and the town accountant. He's a student in Vermont, lives in Dayton, is coming home for the summer, and is an accounting student, and requested to work under the direction of the town in some way. And we agreed that the accountant would be a great place for him. So we met him last week. He's very nice and educated, and we are excited to explore this partnership. The town accountant has issued some, we hope that he can begin next week if he'll be approved tonight and appointed by you. And in order to do that, because it was unforeseen, she's instituted a year-end transfer to fund the line. But we are offered him They're still going to work out the schedule, but it looks like 2 days a week at $12 an hour. And it would be for this summer. I think his last,
Just
he has to
this
ret-
summer, right?
this summer, he returns back to school August 24th. So I'm sure town accountant has many projects to get him started on.
I reviewed Mr. Boulet's resume. I actually don't have any questions. I think it will be a great experience for Mr. Boulet, but also for the town accountant's office. So, and she is excited about this, the town accountant?
For her willingness. You know, we had some hiccups, like where is a desk
Mm-hmm.
and where would it go? But we've solved that, and with the help of the town clerk, thank you, Sue. And we're excited
There was no
to-
extra space in that office.
I know we're taking something away, but we'll give it back in August. But we are excited, and we think he'll be a great fit here.
Great.
So could we invite him to a future meeting, just so we
Yes,
can?
just to meet him, sure.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint John Boulay, intern, to the town accountant for the summer.
I am going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
And I'll add at the rate of $12 per hour, 2 days per week.
I'm still going to second that. Any further discussion? All right, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Good work on that. And next on our agenda, which as is customary, is public input. And we have some public. Does anybody want to speak to us? Okay.
Public and no input.
We will have public input again before we adjourn, so you will have another chance. And you can, speak intermittently. I just ask that you understand that the board and the town administrator will get their say, and then we'll open it up to the public, and then if we have something to rebut, then we'll rebut. And that being said, let's move on to the town administrator's report.
So the first thing in my report is a host community agreement with One Connection. They have visited us before and given us a presentation telling us all about what their plans are and their location, which is 100 William Street. And so as part of their coming to Dayton or any community, they are bound by the state statute to enter into a host community agreement with the town. And that is what has been put together and compiled for your input. It has not been reviewed by town council yet because I wanted to make sure he was reviewing something that you had seen and weighed in on. The nuts and bolts of this is just that they would provide the town a payment and we would determine how that would be spent, but there are some rules that we're bound by. And we went with an education route. So my plan is to use the funds to reinvigorate and restart a DARE program with the school district, or provide opiate addiction educational programs or support groups for families who've lost loved ones to overdoses or anything like that. They are also able to, we could use the funding for police or emergency response. The only caveat that bounds us by state statute is we need to keep a log of what we're actually using the money for so that it's fair and equitable to the business.
May I ask you a question
Yes.
based on that? My only question about that particular portion is if the costs to the town are less than the 3%, annual gross sales revenues, can One Connection reduce their payment to the town?
I believe that to be the case. There is an annual review, but under 94G, that is, am I right in that it reduces? Under 94G? Yes. Sorry, I know I told you we wouldn't have to say much.
Thank you. If you don't mind just introducing yourself.
Through the chair, Valerio Romano, I'm an attorney with Vicente Cedarburg for One Connection. So the idea is that if the payments don't equal the three, or if the money spent doesn't equal the 3%, that it can be reduced. My advice to the town would be to figure out ways to spend it where there's a nexus between the perceived harms of the citing this type of business, and there probably won't be that reduction. But yes, it can be reduced if it doesn't equal that 3%.
My only, about this specifically, my only concern about that would be, let's say this RMD comes to town, they open up shop, everybody's happy. It ends up, I'm making this up, public, I'm making up the figures. It ends up costing the town $20,000, not $30,000. Then I feel like the town is just gonna break even to support the additional public safety measures that may or may not be required. Am I understanding that correctly?
I think how you're saying it, yes, but I would argue that we are still getting taxable, they're taxable. So we'll be getting the business tax rate from them locating there as well. And I think it will end up working out. We'll find ways to spend that.
And I just want the public to know that obviously an educational component, as Madam Administrator was alluding to before, would be worth its weight in gold. I didn't mean,
I
just mean financially break even for some supposed additional cost that we don't know yet there would
But,
be.
and unfortunately, there's really not much we can do. That's the language in
understand.
94G.
Yeah, that's the law.
So, but I understand what you're saying, and the other items in here to highlight, they've agreed to work with any department of the municipality. So that's beyond the police department. I mean, what comes to mind is the police department and security and sharing their security and surveillance. But it, includes Board of Health. We've decided that the Board of Health would be the licensing authority here in Dayton. So working with them and on their regulations, this agreement bounds them to that.
Which I think is fantastic. One other very minor thing is signage. We have the Zoning Board of Appeals chairman here tonight. It says in this preliminary agreement that the company's external signage on the facility and around the municipality must be pre-approved by the municipality's Board of Selectmen or its designee. That should be the Zoning Board of Appeals. Am I correct? That has to go through DBA. Okay, so we'll get that. We'll change that. It's very minor. We're just gonna swap out. 24 hours blinking. No, I know you're not proposing that. Okay, so that signage must be in accordance with the zoning bylaws, and the ZBA is the authority on that. I didn't have too many other comments or concerns. I was pretty much okay with all the other stuff, but I do have a logistical question, and then I want to hear from my colleague on this. We should probably wait to act on this in any direction until we know whether the zoning overlay district will pass at the town meeting. Is that what the recommendation would be?
That is up to you. I personally don't see a reason to wait, but I don't have a lot of energy about it. I defer to the board.
But what if
This
it
only,
didn't-
because this only takes effect if they get their license, and they
Okay.
have to locate and abide by all of the laws. And if they can't locate there, then they're not abiding by the laws, and they wouldn't.
Well, I definitely wouldn't want to vote for it tonight, not
Right,
because
this is
I
the
want to
first time
drag. That's not even it. I did go through line by line through it, and I think you did a fantastic job, but I would want town council to peer at it
Review it.
first. Yeah, absolutely. Selectman Goulart?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. When I saw this, I thought this is premature because we don't have the approval of town meeting yet. As far as whether or not funds will be expended, rest assured. There are lots of places we could spend money besides DARE, besides Board of Health, besides Police Department. We used to have a vehicle that was the DARE car.
Sergeant
We won't be
Dutra.
getting one like that one, but we certainly could get an appropriate vehicle with it leaded and, so that when students saw it, it would be identified as the vehicle for the DARE program. The other thing too is educational materials in the schools that relate to marijuana and medical marijuana, things like that. So I don't think we're gonna have any trouble spending the money. And I would assume that this would be a revolving account, so that year after year, the money would go into it. I'd have to check with the town accountant to see if it would be ongoing, or if each year we would have to approve it like we do other revolving accounts. But I got a feeling this one probably would, even if it's zero balances.
So through the chair, I believe this actually goes into your general fund, and you can expend it how you like. I don't know.
All right,
if
but
it-
the accounting has got to be kept separate, so And quite personally, again, I would ask the town accountant, my recommendation would be put this in a separate account, because as the town administrator said, you have to be able to show what you're spending it on and for audit purposes. But, yeah, so that's kind of an internal question.
Yeah, of course, I would defer to the accountant
Yeah, okay, thank you.
and the intern for the accountant.
More important.
So I have this here for you, for your input,
Yeah.
if you have any, and then we'll send this right over to town council.
So from my perspective, and for you too, Selectman Goulart, and for you, Madam Administrator, I asked the questions on the content that I had questions about. I don't actually have any changes to this that I would recommend, based on what has been presented to me and what I reviewed, other than changing that very small, switching out Board of Selectmen for Zoning Board of Appeals on the signage. Did you have anything specific before we?
I was just looking at this. This is something we could vote on tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's
Is
next.
that, yeah,
Yeah, may I make one more point about the agreement?
I didn't
Mr. Chair?
see it.
Absolutely.
Another bell and whistle in the agreement is the preferential local hiring that Ms.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron's
I put good
together.
on that.
Yeah, so, and in fact, your town administrator, beyond just preferential local hiring, was, added in here that we would, any service contracts as part of the construction and operation beyond just, employees, she added that part as well, so that it's another sort of bell and whistle that, that's, benefit to the town beyond sort of the monetary, and just, so I thought it's nice to mention to the public.
Absolutely, and I apologize that I didn't mention that earlier, and I will actually piggyback off what you just said by adding to the public that in its form right now, the draft under community support and additional obligations does state that One Connection Corp. would hold a job fair in Dayton prior to commencing operations, which is also fantastic.
And having done a lot of these all around the Commonwealth for the last number of years, this one is very favorable to the town, so your town administrator definitely, thought through this thoroughly, and it was a pleasure working on it
We're
with
going to have to start calling
Yeah.
Mallory the closer.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I want to address this to Mr.
you-
Pacheco.
absolutely.
At the meeting, Monday night, who will it be the Board of Health or ZBA that will explain the article?
I don't know who's going to explain the article, but I'm part of the cannabis task force, and I have a statement in support of the bylaw. I think
which
it's
article?
the planning board, I believe, is going to be presenting the article.
The planning board presents their bylaw. The 3%, I think, is going to be
From the
from the
cannabis.
cannabis,
Yep.
which
Task
we've
force.
nominated
Yep.
Mr. Pacheco.
So will Board of Health be involved at all?
At the town meeting or in this?
Yeah, yeah.
I believe they'll be consulted. They
Yeah.
did have extensive work done on their draft regulations, and
Okay.
Mr. Pyers, as you're aware, wears many hats, and two of them are the Board of Health and the Planning Board.
Okay.
And just for my colleague, this memo that we have here tonight, these were also sent to the Planning Board, Zoning Board, and the Board of Health as well, in an effort to have our communication be top-notch when it comes to our strategy regarding cannabis policy going forward. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very
And we'll
much,
be in
Mr. Chairman.
touch, and if we don't have any, so I agree, we shouldn't vote on the host community agreement, but if we have no major structural changes, I have that minor little thing about the signage, maybe we could get town council's opinion. Sure. Because I wouldn't want to obviously vote
Right,
until
oh, of course.
town council had
And,
reviewed it.
They are aware that it's
Yep.
subject to town council review.
Thank you very much.
No,
Revisions?
Nope, nope.
Great, so I will
Great.
send that off. Thank you.
Thank you, and good work, everybody involved. All right. If it's okay, Madam Administrator, since we're talking about cannabis,
Since we have discussed this as an agenda item, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we take the One Connection Corp. host community agreement under advisement until after the annual town meeting.
and I will second that, I'll step down and second that motion. Discussion? All right, hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. And since we're on the subject of cannabis, I I feel like we might want to do the
Sure.
report on the cannabis
Yeah.
policy task force next.
A lot about cannabis today. Sure. So the cannabis policy.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, I move that we take agenda item 6C out of order.
I will step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the motion passes.
The Cannabis Policy Task Force met this past week, a week ago, actually, and we had quite an extensive agenda. We did a lot of work. You have a memo in front of you that gives you a few tidbits of information. So the task force voted to recommend at town meeting the passage of that zoning bylaw for the marijuana overlay. They voted to recommend in favor of the 3% local tax to impose on adult-use marijuana facilities coming into Dayton. They also voted, based upon a recommendation, to change their name to the Cannabis Policy Advisory Board. And since the task force is voted on by you, you would need to vote to do that name change. And what is not included in this memo, and was an oversight by my part, I'm sorry about that, is that they also voted not to impose a limit on the number of licenses allowed for adult use marijuana facilities. And the reasoning behind that was because we just are gonna let the market decide. If we zone it properly, there's only so many that can locate and still be profitable and do business.
And the people, I like that idea personally, just because I feel like that keeps the townspeople in charge of, you know,
Right.
cannabis policy, essentially. The reason why I like the idea of the Cannabis Policy Advisory Board name change is simply because we really are an advisory board. I am also representing the Board of Selectmen on that, on the current task force. But really, we don't have any actual authority. What we're doing is giving recommendations and advice to planning, zoning, and Board of Health, who actually have jurisdiction over different aspects of cannabis use. So.
I have a question. Now, this is for adult use.
Yes.
Do we anticipate any more medical facilities, dispensaries, other than, we've got a potential one here?
This is the only one I've worked with and have had, communication or outreach. And where we're zoning it, we might, once that gets passed, if it's favorable, we might get some more, but the zone isn't very large, so it might not be a great idea, business-wise, for someone to locate there.
Is the zone medical only?
No.
Marijuana
grocery zone.
overlay.
It's marijuana.
Overlay would become recreational usage.
So if that's passed at town meeting, the only place in town where either medical or adult use would be?
200 William Street and
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I know we have that other law in 1901, but I don't believe that's going to be brought up.
Right.
We had to put that
It's on
on.
as a technicality.
Any other questions? All right, at this time, I'll accept motions to change the name of the Cannabis Policy Task Force to the Cannabis Policy Advisory Board.
So moved.
I will step down and second that motion. Discussion?
So Karen, when we do appointments, annual appointments, we got to remember that this is the name of the board, and we should also let Jen know that just in case there's any funding, because we've still got funding listed for the disaster committee when we change the name of that committee. So
We
just-
can't shake that name.
we need to do that.
Good points, duly noted. Further discussion? Sure, Mr. Rhines.
Could someone just please clarify that you're not looking to rezone two locations in town, because it has been on the internet that people in the community think that both zones are going to be brought up at town meeting, or there will be two zones for marijuana use, or I'm sorry, for a dispensary or whatever it may be. So that needs to be clarified, because I have seen it on the internet.
We have announced it when we read the warrant, and I think it was announced twice when we read the articles one week and we read the rest of the warrant the other week. And again, 1901 County Street is the proposal that was defeated last year. The only reason it's on the warrant now is because they had attempted to bring it back by petition, didn't get enough signatures for a special meeting, but got enough signatures for an annual. But I believe the plan right now is that when that article is called, there will be no motion, and it will die.
Well, thank you for that clarification, because as I stated, that residents in town think that it's going to be 2 locations.
Well, and I heard from residents on Somerset Avenue that were very much opposed when it did come up the first time.
I think if we can get that out to the public, that's fine. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. No problem. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Anything else? Oh, well, I guess we need to finish our vote. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion for the name change? All right. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Good work. Anything else, Madam Administrator?
I have one last item. In order to, I'm seeking a vote, and Tom Ferry is seeking a vote, for you to allow him to do work on private property, and this is actually to correct the Summer Street drainage. It is running through the mill. I do have a map. I didn't include it in your packet. That is my GIS, or that's there, but this is also, I don't know if you need more information. This is from Mr. Roy Delano. And I have a right of entry with a proposed work. So he's just going in there to correct where the drainage, the stormwater, is draining into, and kind of recreate, reroute it to our own infrastructure.
Are the
So you're-
residents of this private property?
They are, yes.
owners?
The owners are okay with it. That's there's, it's the mill. So there's a lot of layers there with the board of directors. It's in process. They are on board with a few technicalities, nothing major. He's able to do and go in and do the work. We won't be near the designated AUL, so all of that environmental won't come into play. And Tom is ready to rock and roll on this, as he is on everything, so.
We don't want to hold up Mr. Ferry.
So we're just looking for your blessing and your vote to allow them to conduct work on private property.
After this vote, if we approve it, do we need to send a letter to anybody?
Vote isn't good enough? No? The
Do
vote
you
is
have
good.
questions, Selectman Goulart?
What is the actual area of work?
So it is 50 feet of 18-inch ADS pipe to the north of the manhole labeled A. In the GIS map, might be easier to see. And then
Here's A.
adding another manhole structure labeled B to join the outflow. Look, stormwater clears the room. Have a good night. Another manhole structure labeled B to join the outflow of water to the existing drain. Right now, water is going, and it's supposed to be in this pipe, and it's being diverted over here. So we need to stop it, cut it off, and divert it into the pipe it's supposed to be in, which is a town-owned drainage system. We also did file for a conservation notice, and it was a negative, which is good. It means there's no wetlands in the area, and that will encroach upon.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not ready to vote on this. I got too many questions relative to the easement. I've spoken to Mr. Ferry about another patch on Spring Street, but it's not this one. So I would like to speak to him. I actually would like to do a field visit and see this. Using a right of entry, we have to be careful using a right of entry. That's all I'll say. DOT has, let's just say, cautioned us. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so I'm really not ready to act on this. I would like to make a motion that we bring this up on our next meeting, and I know we're not scheduled to meet for 2 weeks, but we are meeting next week for a soil board hearing. And since we'll know the town meeting vote on the overlay district at that time, we could vote on that and send it on to town
Have like a
council.
short meeting or
Have a
something?
shot.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest.
I'm going to be here already.
Exactly, and we're going to be here the following week. So I'm going to make a motion that we table action on Mr. Ferry's request and that we post a selectmen's meeting next week so that we can look at this and also discuss the marijuana overlay district so we can get these things going.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
Selectman Goulart, I'm just going to give this to you as well, so you have this documentation when you do your
Okay,
site
good.
visit. That plan, you can take that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes.
So will the June 6th, June 6th meeting be limited to those two items, or, I mean, I can fill an
Well,
agenda.
I don't know if we'll have
so-
anything else tonight. Let's wait till the end of this meeting, but if something comes up before you actually post it that you feel should be on there,
Sure.
then I would say put that on.
Okay.
And we're going to have to figure out the time. With the soil board hearing is at
6:30.
6:30?
Yep.
That tends to run over.
If you meet at 6, can you do, well, we can talk about this.
Yeah, we need to,
can talk
yeah,
about that. but-
okay.
Okay.
Anything else, Madam Administrator?
Not from me,
Okay.
but I have something to say on 7A, so.
Okay, all right. So at this time, let's move on to old business. Status of speeding concerns on Tommy's Way. Madam Administrator.
This item came up last meeting, if you remember. We did look into it, spoke with the developer. What we believe is it might be a case of the residents going a little fast. The developer has put up the signs, put up some Jersey barriers to direct traffic in such a way, but Mr. Ferry is correct. It's not really enforceable because it's not our road, but the police department is willing to go there and just monitor. We have the developer's blessing to locate there. They wouldn't be issuing tickets, but at least be there just to be a reminder, cognizant. I know I'm telling everybody that you're not going to issue tickets, but at least be a presence in the area.
They'll follow you until you speed on a public way.
So no. But they're willing to monitor the area and address the residents' concerns.
And we appreciate a Dayton Police Department that is responsive to the needs of the public, so.
So they think it's people actually living in that development?
Right.
Slow down, Tommy's Way. Anything else on this item? Do we need to act on anything for this
No,
item?
this is just an FYI item and that we're still working on it, I guess, but this is our response.
Do you have any questions on this item? All right. Safe to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to 7B, Town Administrator Evaluation.
I don't know how you want to go about doing this.
Do you just want
We
me to
have to
read
give you Nancy's and Nancy yours.
Okay.
So the public is aware that evaluations are considered opinions and cannot be shared with another board member prior to an open meeting because it is sharing an opinion.
Now, do I read this?
That is your choice.
Shouldn't we just read our own?
Right, or summarize, whatever, I don't
read
know.
our
I've
own.
never really done it this way.
We've never
Leave
done
that
it
to
before.
you.
Yeah, we've
Right,
never
I'll
done
leave
this at all
that to
public.
you.
Bear with us.
I mean, I have read both. I did prepare some comments relative to Selectman Goulart's review,
Okay.
but I will defer to the board. I'd like to go second.
Is it okay? I'll just read mine.
Okay.
That's fine? Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go quick. I didn't have too many comments, so the first section was leadership. Obviously, I think you've done a great job. I wrote under comments, very strong leadership skills, treats others fairly and equitably, leads by example, provides strong moral and ethical leadership. Mallory is a consensus builder and an exemplary listener. The next section is personnel management. Under comments, and I'm doing this just to summarize, there are little bubbles that we filled out. There were a lot of questions under each particular subsection. So I'm just reading the actual comments that I wrote, not the bubbles that I circled. Comments regarding personnel management, I put that you're an effective manager and a real people person, diplomatic, conscientious, firm when you need to be. I just simply put that for you to be able to be an effective personnel manager, that the Board of Selectmen needs to come to the understanding that it really is the town administrator's job to manage the daily, goings on, the operation here, so that you can do your job. Get off your back. Financial management. Excellent job. Part of this I did consult with some unnamed members of our financial team in town. I just put for comments under financial management, sound financial management skills. You helped us increase our bond rating, which I believe saved us something like $200,000. And I know you worked with Mary and I believe Jen on that as well, so kudos. I said that you developed a strong financial statement, which was helpful for the bond rating, streamlined our budget process, and began, which allowed us to begin pondering more long-term financial strategies. And I put that you did excellent work on the fiscal year 19 budget. I know it's tough to get, thrown into it, and every community might have little quirks that, their own finishing touches, or their own way that they do things. So good work on that. There was one note I put under maintains good communications and relationships with the business community. Under this particular question I put has coordinated meetings with business community already, such as the auto auction on Route 138, so you're already working to get those ties strong. Under general comments regarding community relations, I put does an outstanding job keeping residents informed via your monthly newsletter, which nobody asked you to do. You just decided to do it, picked up the ball and ran with it. You also are a prevalent user of social media. You update the town website. You created your own webpage for the town administrator department. You regularly use the mass email system. One thing that I particularly like about community relations with you is that you never refuse to speak to anyone. Your door is mostly always open. Sometimes you have to shut it to get work done. And I know from my conversations that residents, employees really appreciate that. Relationship with the Board of Selectmen. I just wrote under the question, is fully knowledgeable and committed to the field of local government. I just wrote proven. Under prepares self and Board of Selectmen appropriately for meetings. Great job on the agenda and the corresponding packet, and you were pivotal in getting us to pass that policy that kind of streamlined that whole process where, you're just submitting your stuff by Monday in the afternoon, and then it can't change after that, so that we as a board have time to review not only the agenda, but also the packet of materials that we're going to be discussing. And under comments regarding your relationship with the Board of Selectmen, I put that you did excellent work on progressing much-needed policies with the Board of Selectmen. You're always patient, professional, knowledgeable, and enthusiastic. A pleasure to work. Don't let this go to your head. A pleasure to work with, and a strong, capable asset for the town, the Board of Selectmen, and the residents of Dayton. One thing that I value about your relationship with the board is that you really are a consummate team player, and you really have done a great job on all the policy work, implementing especially. Personal qualities, I put under earns the respect of professional colleagues, absolutely 100%. Demonstrates ability to work well with individuals and groups and appreciates the viewpoints of others. I put principled yet also flexible and not resistant to new ideas, which is important. It interacts professionally and tactfully with others, always. And under comments regarding personal qualities, I wrote an outstanding employee, a caring person, generous, principled, conscientious, diligent, respectful, but most importantly, effective, and a real go-getter. There are several questions. The first is, or statements, list the most prominent strengths of the town administrator that positively impact overall effectiveness. I said that your number one quality that allows you and the Board of Selectmen to be effective is that you're organized. List the most important things the town administrator could improve upon to increase overall effectiveness. And this was not meant to be like a slight or anything. I put, be strong and confident in making the role of town administrator your own. You are the first. Overall comments related to the town administrator's effectiveness. I just put, I couldn't be prouder of all the town administrator has accomplished already. Oh, it looks like I lost my train of thought. I didn't finish the sentence. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to accomplish in the future. Then the last question is to please list the goals you'd like the town administrator to achieve in the next year. I put 1, assist the Board of Selectmen in completing the overhaul and approval of the new policy manual. 2, complete all procurement training. I believe there are 2 courses left. And 3, flesh out minor budget process kinks for the fiscal year 20 budget. Just let's streamline it further. And 4, help the Board of Selectmen implement fair and equitable employee evaluation process, which will be,
Exciting.
yes, to say the least. So I just want to thank you. And I just really appreciate it. It really has been a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Under leadership, I put down needs improvement. That's based on comments during the budget process review that some felt the process was not fair and had to come to the board and ask for reconsideration of some of the things they wanted. I've got a number of areas that I have not rated, as I mentioned last week. Not enough time on the job to measure this. One of them talks about ethically defined goals. I don't know what that means. I've never seen that term. I didn't rate that. Sets high expectations for self and others, successful, effectively deals with unforeseen issues and problems, needs improvement in areas such as personnel and previously approved events such as Aggie School graduation. No rating on long-range plans with clear, defensible priorities. I don't know what that means. Again, this is not a criticism of the person, it's the form that we're using that there were parts that didn't make any sense to me. Prioritization is important, needing to consider priorities of others that are working on projects. The first summary, comments regarding leadership. Excuse me, Mallory has not been in a leadership position in order for me to effectively rate her leadership ability. There should be more evidence. As time passes, she will develop a leadership style and it will be effective in dealing with employees and the public. Again, I mentioned last week the short time period. This is an annual evaluation. Well, only in name, because the time period involved is not a year. So that's why I think this one was premature. Short-term, long-term goals with department heads. I don't know of any goals with department heads. The other thing that I have not seen relative to goals, the standard procedure when you are establishing goals, you set a goal and then the next thing you do is you have to talk about how it's going to be accomplished, which is objectives. Some people think goals and objectives are the same. Absolutely not. A goal would be, I want to be a hockey goalie. I've played hockey all my life, and I want to be in the National Hockey League. That's a goal. The objective is, how are you going to get there? What do you have to do to accomplish the goal? So although we have goals set, no objectives. So anything relative to goals and objectives, like that talks about that in here. And again, this was not a customized evaluation instrument. So we're looking at some other towns. Staff morale, I put needs improvement. I don't think she's been here long enough. I don't think enough people know her. I don't think enough people have worked with her. So it's not a negative, it's just that, again, it's a time period thing. Effectively leads labor contract negotiations. I didn't rate this because I've only attended one. Selectman Zagrafis and I have really not been involved with the collective bargaining meetings. And I've attended one because there's been one held with the police union since the last election, and we've got one scheduled. Comments regarding personnel management. Few examples of personnel management need a longer time period in order to rate these items. It takes time to develop trust and gain the support needed to be an effective manager. Great leaders are not always good managers. Great managers are not always good leaders. Financial management. I rated this one unacceptable. The lateness of the budget and multiple copies led to confusion. Her not attending all of the Finance Committee meetings led to questions that could not be answered, such as, why did the TA recommend, and you can finish the rest of the sentence. She did come to a couple at the end. This is one. Sees the expenditure controls, sees that expenditure controls are efficient to minimize waste and inefficiency. No rating, because there's no evidence. We, the town, has controls in place. Quote, minimize waste and inefficiency, unquote. The financial controls in place are very good, as audit reports have shown. There's always room for improvement, and I'm sure if she finds such, she will discuss needed controls with department heads and the Board of Selectmen. I think the paper and highway bids are a good start, not because of waste, but because of group purchasing. So again, the form itself that talks about waste and inefficiency, quite frankly, it's not evidence in this town. And either having served since, I think, 2002 to the current, either as a Finance Committee member or a selectman, I'm well qualified to say whether or not this is relevant. And I give the credit to all those department heads and the Finance Committee and everyone else that's done their bit throughout the years. Accurately controls and reports the town's financial condition. Excuse me, this allergy thing is, there's so much stuff. Actively controls, reports. I didn't rate this because I expect the town accountant to provide this information. I don't think that the town administrator should have to be doing that. I mean, accurately controls and reports. We get monthly reports from the town accountant, so. Comments regarding financial management. Mallory hasn't been here long enough to have these skills. She did not attend the FinCom meetings when the budget was being discussed. The FinCom asked why she made certain recommendations, and she was not there to answer their questions. And then I made a note, May 17th, update. She has attended the last couple of FinCom meetings. And that was important because they asked why she made recommendations. In the first few meetings, it's like Brett and I couldn't answer that. Communications with the community, in a manner that's informative. I put needs improvement. Need more than the newsletter. Weekly selectmen's meetings is a good way to communicate because people see her doing the job. People see the person. If all you get is, if you don't watch the selectmen's meeting, you don't come to town hall, you don't get to see the person. You're reading the paper, you know. Projects a positive image in the community, needs improvement. This rating was based on public comments unsolicited by me. I expect this rating will improve with a change in administration and her ability to work more independently and not just with one or under the direction of one member of the Board of Selectmen. Keeps the citizens in town informed of current issues in town government. I put needs improvement. Because of the ongoing work on the budget and the amount of time it took, I don't think a lot of time was spent on dispensing info on current issues. I feel strongly that not only the town administrator, but also the Board of Selectmen has to do more in this area. Maintains communication with state and federal officials to enhance the town's position. I didn't rate this. Not here long enough to evaluate this area. A number of people have to do this, meaning maintains communications. A number of people have to do this depending on what they do and the time of the year that it is. That relates to reports or other requirements that have to be, deadlines that have to be met, deadlines that are imposed on us by someone else, an outside agency, usually the Department of Revenue. Maintains good communications and relationships with the business community. I didn't rate it. No evidence, need more training on the job. Provides leadership within the community by being visible and approachable. I didn't rate this. Again, no rating is not a reflection on the person directly. I had problems with this form. That's why I wrote so much stuff. Because if I just checked a box, I don't think it would be fair. Comments regarding community relations. Too soon to evaluate this. I've received positive and negative comments from residents, and I didn't solicit them. I just listened. I also didn't agree with them all. There are residents who didn't support the position from day one, and some will never change, so I have to consider the source. Relationship with the Board of Selectmen. I got needs improvement. This has already begun with a change in the Board of Selectmen. Ensures that all presentations and recommendations to the board are based on thorough study and analysis. Needs improvement. This will improve, and has somewhat, by allowing her to work with and consider the info and advice from longtime employees without undue influence from someone with no ulterior motives or preconceived notions. Regularly informs the Board of Selectmen about issues of importance, needs improvement. With a manageable workload, this will improve. Prepares self and Board of Selectmen appropriately for meetings. Successful, and Karen contributes heavily to this achievement. Take steps to move issues forward, issues toward closure in a timely manner. No rating. Others are involved with the process. Interprets, supports, and executes the intent of the Board of Selectmen policies. Needs improvement. When we get accepted policies, this task will come into play. A policy review board is a good first step. And I think most people know that we found out that the existing policy book was never officially approved, reviewed by the union. So we have this policy review board, and that's going to be something that the town administrator is going to be working on. Takes appropriate actions within the scope of authority. Needs improvement. Quote, scope of authority, unquote. Needs clarification and acceptance by everyone. Outside of the military, it's difficult to mandate authority. It has to be recognized, and that comes about with respect and trust. Actively participates in professional municipal management organizations, successful. Maintains a professional relationship with the Board of Selectmen. This has already begun to get better. I had put down needs improvement. Comments regarding relationship with the Board of Selectmen. Mallory followed the leadership/direction of only one member of the Board of Selectmen. That did not result in her gaining insight into what benefits she could receive from other board members. She needs to focus on the board and not one member. This should come about with the recent change in leadership. Personal qualities. Maintains high standards of ethics, honesty, and integrity in all personal and professional matters, successful. Earns the respect of professional colleagues. Needs improvement. I define, quote, professional colleagues, unquote, as all of those people in leadership positions who have to run a department, manage personnel and finances, anticipate and try to mitigate issues, and respond effectively to events that arise. demonstrates ability to work well with individuals and groups, and appreciates the viewpoints of others. Needs improvement. This will come about with trust and respect on an individual and collective basis. Interacts professionally and tactfully with others. Needs improvement on both the professional and personal level. Dispel wrong first impressions. That's why I think it's important that people see the town administrator as she's in a public environment. This meeting is a good example. Exercises sound professional judgment and democratic processes in arriving at decisions. Needs improvement. Can be improved over time and without pressure. Expresses ideas effectively, verbally, and in writing. Successful. Maintains poise and emotional stability in the full range of his or her professional activities. Needs improvement, dealing with personnel issues. Comments regarding personal qualities. Motivated to do a good job. Confident, willing to learn new things that relate to Dayton. List the most prominent strength of the town administrator that positively impact overall effectiveness. Background / experience in small town government. Education. Flexibility without flip-flopping. Good problem-solving skills. Ability to look at all options. Instinct or intuition. List the most important things the town administrator could improve upon to increase overall effectiveness. Accept offers of help from town employees. Learn from them. Treat them as equal partners in the, quote, town team, unquote. Ask, not tell them when she wants their assistance and cooperation. Listen. Be supportive of their concerns. Reduce the amount of work given to the Board of Selectmen / town administrative assistant by managing and prioritizing personal workload. Overall comments related to the town administrative effectiveness. I believe that effectiveness will improve now that she is free to use the skills she has acquired. This is her first, quote, big job, unquote, and a goal to be a town administrator has been achieved. I hope that her initial introduction to the operations and functions of the town and the Board of Selectmen will not affect her ability to be creative and inclusive in how she does her job and works with everyone. She now has a golden opportunity to demonstrate her management style, to collaborate as a member of any team working on a project, and to grow in the job. We have many good, quote, managers, unquote, that do not have that title, but who truly are managers and leaders as well. Good managers do not have to say they are managers or bosses or foremen. The way they conduct themselves, lead, and treat people define them. Please list the goals you would like the town administrator to achieve in the next year. I have expectations based on professional competence. I have no plans to tell the town administrator what her goals should be for the coming year. I expect her to continue working on policies with the Policy Review Board. I want her to take a look at operations and propose areas where there needs to be improvement. Goals should be based on needs. We will begin a new year. With the exception of a few ongoing tasks, the slate is clean. I expect her to be prepared with a self-evaluation when this evaluation process takes place again. I expect that we will see the development of a more professional evaluation process and instrument, and the town administrator will truly receive an annual evaluation and not one that, in my opinion, contains categories that are not relevant to the town administrator's job. Please note that in completing this form, I reiterate my concerns that it, in its present form, is not what a professional person should expect from the governing board. The short time period from December 2017 to May 23, 2018 does not provide enough time for the town administrator to learn and understand how and why Dayton has very successfully operated over the years. Yes, there have been bumps in the road, but the bumps have been smoothed out and progress continues because of teamwork and the ability to adapt, accept, and manage change.
Okay. So I just wanted to make a couple, I couldn't write fast enough, but I just wanted to make a note on staff morale. I was elected in 2016. My opinion from just conversations and speaking to different people around the building is it's the best it's ever been. Lateness of the budget, we have the Finance Committee Chairman here. I believe the FinCom had to meet 4 days in a row last year because it was so late. Is that correct?
Can I have the floor for a minute?
Absolutely.
In regards to that, because I was at home watching, one of those people who watches. And in all due respect to all the comments that were made, and in respect to the town administrator, because I met with the town administrator many times before we started. The town administrator, to the point, Mrs. Goulart, it's really incumbent upon the Board of Selectmen to ask the town administrator. She was at the meetings that the Finance Committee invited her to be at. She participated at the behest of the Finance Committee when we wanted it. We did not request her to be there, nor do we request the Board of Selectmen to be at every Finance Committee meeting. That is really not what the process is. The budget's submitted to us. We make our recommendation to the townspeople. We ask the questions to the department heads. Those are the ones we request the Board of Selectmen to be at are the budgets that fall under the Board of Selectmen's purview, and then the rest of it is discussed with the department heads. And then we invite, as we did in the final review of the last two meetings, we invited the Board of Selectmen, any department head, and the town administrator. So to question the town administrator's participation in the budget process within her review and the comments that were made in regards to the review, she followed everything to the letter and worked with the Finance Committee in any assistance that was necessary. If that was not the perception, then it's a differing of opinion. But from the Finance Committee standpoint, we had a great working relationship with the town administrator and the town accountant. We knew it was a different process because it's the first year we've had the town administrator, but it is incumbent upon, and this is why I came, because it kind of like frustrated me a little bit when I was watching it, that to challenge the town administrator's role within the budget process was not, it's an incorrect perception. So I wanted to be here because Mallory has been very good. And everybody knows where I stand on bringing a town administrator in here, in the town, and developing it. And it's a position that it's really incumbent upon the Board of Selectmen to develop what they want that position to look like. And but from a Finance Committee standpoint and the budget process this year, in fact, I think we may have started a week later, but we actually finished earlier than we finished in the last few years. Karen will attest to that because she got the motions not the day before she needed to write them out, at least a week or 2 weeks beforehand. So, you know, over the last few years, we've really condensed the process in general. But I just wanted that clear that there was no missteps or, yeah, the process was a little bit different. We had the town administrator's recommendations. Yeah, did we all learn something that we'll do differently for next year? Yeah, but the perception shouldn't be that there was an angst as part of the budget process. And I wanted to make that clear, that's why I came. Because I saw that was a large portion of what Mrs. Goulart that you had mentioned in yours. I just wanted from the Finance Committee's perspective that as part of the evaluation, that people understand that. There was nothing that was missed, and Mallory did not, you know, she came when the Finance Committee requested her. If the Board of Selectmen had wanted her there, and more often that's really incumbent upon the Board of Selectmen and not the Finance.
We did not ask you
to
come, and if I had wanted you to be there in terms of like expecting you to be there, I would have asked you. So it sounds like to me there's a difference between an expectation that may not have been communicated to you, and I apologize for that. Did you have anything?
What I alluded to was exactly what the chairman of the Board of Selectmen had said when we started the process. Last year, we got up to the point of preparing the warrant. It was crisis time. Now, that was the first time he had seen this happen. We discussed it. And he said, this isn't going to happen next year, that 1 to 2 weeks before that warrant is due, it will be ready. It was the same panic racing around trying to get it done. I don't think in the total process that everyone understands when it comes down to the final, there's only one person. And this person, Karen, was here on Friday night. You know the rule, women aren't supposed to be in the building alone? She has put in extra hours to be able to get it done because of what had happened. Now, what I was alluding to about Mrs. Aaronstein not being at the FinCom meetings, you and members of the FinCom asked us about her recommendations, and we just sat there because we didn't know. We didn't know. So that was my reference, was you had asked us questions about her recommendations. We didn't have answers.
But I felt, as I watched your comments, that you were questioning that she wasn't at every one of our meetings. And that is us asking the Board of Selectmen, who the town administrator reports to, if they have an answer, versus what I perceived and listened to when I was watching this. That's two different comments. I just wanted to be here and back up Mallory on that. She followed anything the Finance Committee asked her to do. She did. If the Board of Selectmen had wanted her there to discuss those, we have questions of department heads that aren't at every one of our meetings. So I just think it needs to be clear what that delineation is. And if the Board of Selectmen wanted her at those, that wouldn't have come from the Finance Committee. That would have come at the direction of the Board of Selectmen. It shouldn't be held against someone for not coming to them.
I agree completely. You've got to remember, we had a last-minute change in the board, okay? I was not involved with what her scheduling was going to be. He said he didn't invite us. That means he wasn't involved. I'm just telling you what the impression was, okay? What we were told.
That's why I came to clear the air.
But I'm also not holding it because I know I didn't specifically come to you and say, hey, can you come to the FinCom tonight? Because there were nights, as you know, Mr. Chairman, I couldn't make it or I was late because I have a full-time job. So that's why I didn't even mention it, because you weren't there. I didn't ask you to be there. We're all good, right? We're all good. Okay. I just wanted to make another note. There was a mention of waste and inefficiency. We don't have any. I do want to thank you for being one of the main recommenders of not having two people do procurement and paying two different people to do procurement. So you definitely helped us avoid some waste and inefficiency there. Maintain relationships with other officials. I know you've been very instrumental in working with State Representative Pat Haddad on the library situation. We all know we need a library, and so you've been very instrumental in that. I also wanted to ask my colleague, I noticed on your sheet some of them didn't have blanks, and you said that needs improvement basically meant no rating, but needs improvement sounds like an indictment on the abilities of the town administrator. No rating is when you don't put anything.
I prefaced everything with my discussion of this form. Now that I've started, when I told you last week, when I started working with it, there were 3. I guess we picked the best of 3. I gotta tell you, I've never seen a professional evaluation like this, never. To begin with, there's no self-evaluation. A professional evaluation always begins with a self-evaluation. We're working towards getting a decent evaluation form. I don't think the form is fair, and I'm certainly not gonna put down yes, 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 no, no, no. That's why I took the time to write as much stuff as I did, okay? I don't believe in trying to fit the evaluation form to the person when the form itself is not really professional. I think the town that put this together probably uses it for everybody. Well, we're supposed to be looking at your FinCom requests, evaluation processes. I don't see us using the same form necessarily on every person who will be evaluated that we use to do the town administrator because of the different levels that are involved. I just don't see that happening.
I guess I hear your evaluation. Obviously, I wrote mine. And to me, it sounds like they're about 2 different people. I don't think you could be an amazing employee / town administrator and also one that needs improvement on every single thing. And so my question again, and I do respect your answers, Selectman Goulart. My question is very specific, is why did you put needs improvement, not keep it blank? Because needs improvement is like telling somebody they need to improve on these areas. Because some of them you did keep blank, like that one. No rating.
No, that's successful.
No, this one, no rating.
Well, no rating is not needs improvement. You're mixing two things up.
No, what I'm saying
This
is.
is, for
here
example,
you didn't
needs
rate her.
improvement, I put a comment. This one, not enough time on the job to measure this.
So may
But
I
so
make
why
some
is everything
comments?
these, sure,
I
Madam
looked at yours,
Administrator.
I looked at your evaluation, and I thought the same thing. Who did he rate? Because we personally have not worked closely with her.
I've worked very closely with her.
Doing what? You're not here during the
Everything
day.
we communicate all the time.
I have some comments. First of all,
Sure.
I'm with you every week. We meet here every week. A 6-month tenure is the basic probationary period. It is of no use to me to learn and grow and try to understand your expectation when there's no rating. So I can understand what you said, but that was the tool that was selected. You aired your concerns over it. They were respected. Mr. Zavrafis had done his evaluation, so we were essentially stuck with it. It is what it is. Now we've learned, we know we're going to do something different. I just wish you had done some sort of rating, or when you had a comment, listed some examples so that I could learn from them. I wrote a 16-page response. That is my right to go and accompany this into my personnel file, because I wholeheartedly disagree with a lot of that, what you said. Morale has been the top for me, because I understand as an employee coming in and not knowing the outsider and not knowing how a town administrator form of government works, how scary and horrible that must be for a long-term employee. I was very sensitive to it.
Employee?
A long-term employee, anybody,
Singular?
anybody. Any long-term employee, I'm not singling anybody out. I know that you equate me with Mr. Taylor's supposed hit list or vendetta against the town accountant. That could not be further from the truth. I respect Jennifer Louise wholeheartedly.
Excuse
I
me.
continually
When you
praise
say
her and praise her in
somebody being
department head
afraid,
meetings and praise her.
Are you talking brand-new town administrator coming in? I'm confused. Are you talking about your own fears about coming into
No.
a brand-new setting?
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm talking
I'm not
about-
bringing people into this.
So I'm talking about how I understand the other perspective of somebody new coming in and what that might mean for workload of an existing employee or life in Dayton for an existing employee. So I was sensitive to morale. That's the point that I was making. And so I instituted things so people could get to know me. I sat down with every department head, with the exception of 2, Jim Aguirre and I. It had storms when we were trying to get together. Life just didn't happen, but we've interacted.
But I didn't bring any town employees
I know.
into this.
I
So
understand that, but this is my opportunity to respond,
But when we-
and I'm trying to
I
make the
think-
point that I've done.
I want to make a point.
And when we talk about morale,
We
we're
shouldn't
talking
have
about the
names.
people who are in
Sure.
here.
Please
Sure.
don't mention
No
names,
names.
because I didn't bring town employees into
Okay,
this.
no names.
But the morale comes from
So the
people
morale
that
comes
inhabit
from,
the building.
I took the step to meet with every department head and other members. Vicky Piazza, actually, a member of the Development Industrial Commission, made an appointment. The town historian made an appointment. People took me up on my open door policy, which I still have in effect. I still manage my workload with that. It is valuable to me to hear from the public, to hear from departments, to hear from other boards and commissions, to lend my support. That's what I feel my role is. I was really upset to get a negative rating in morale, because I've been trying very hard on that score. I was also very upset to get a negative rating in financial management. I understand that this role is new, and that form does not completely mirror what's going on here in Dayton. But what we could have done is use the job description that was voted upon by the Board of Selectmen, and there are items that you've listed as no rating that could have had a rating. Without ratings and examples, I just can't understand what you mean, and I can't understand how to grow and develop and meet your expectation. Other notes by you are just erroneous. How I haven't been with the business community. I think what we heard tonight with One Connection, I've reached out to the business community.
example
Anawan
from my
Brewery,
meeting.
the Zeeks, the TIF, his TIF is out in the wind. We are not acting on it. We're not doing anything, and I'm putting things in place so that we're actually accomplishing goals and getting things done. The
And
item
we
about.
worked hand in hand with Anawan Brewery, with Ms. Piazza, who's present.
Yes.
And those are examples of things we work on
Right,
together.
exactly.
Whether
Well-
I'm here in this building or not, I have a phone. Okay, you don't need to fly a carrier pigeon to my house to get in contact with me. Text, we talk all the time. Continue, I'm sorry, Madam
That's
Administrator.
okay. I just am you know, I'm the kind of person that I take a lot of pride in my work, and when I'm receiving a negative review, I'm taking it personally, and I
Consider
understand.
needs improvement negative.
Yes, absolutely.
We've only
because
got one acceptable in this, unacceptable in this whole thing.
Correct, and 3 successfuls, and the rest are needs improvement or no rating.
Only because you're relatively new and you haven't been here for a year, which is the
And I
evaluation period.
I can understand that, but I think I've proven myself in 6 months that I can do this job, that I can do it well, and I care about the town of Dayton.
I didn't say you can't do the job. I said there has been
Your
improvement.
evaluation indicates that.
No, not at all.
We have a difference of opinion then.
Well, I thought we were going to meet before we had tonight's meeting.
We were supposed to, I messed up, I thought that I looked at the wrong calendar. I looked at June for the 30th, and it's scheduled for tomorrow, but after this, I don't know if I want to have that meeting. I am feeling a little attacked, a little, you know, imagine me, I'm getting 2 different, I felt like, am I the same person, getting 2 different evaluations? What is the disconnect? What is different? What am I doing differently?
That's why we
with
should
Mrs.
meet.
Right.
I got to tell you, I showed up this morning for the meeting, and it got to be 10 past 10, and I finally said to Karen, is Mallory here? She says, no, she went to another meeting. I said, I'm looking at the book and I'm saying, that's funny, I thought we were going to meet before the selectmen's meeting to go over the evaluation, or at least discuss the follow-up from the meeting before, job description, contract, whatever. I didn't even get notified there was no meeting.
We had a conversation through email that it was the 31st. I indicated to you that I was looking at the wrong calendar. I was looking at June and not May, and I was actually unavailable to meet this morning.
I thought it was the 31st
treasurer.
too,
I accompanied the treasurer for
It
a
would make
meeting
more
this
sense to
morning.
meet today before
I
tonight's
agree.
meeting.
I wholeheartedly agree, but I was committed to the treasurer collector to go to a health group meeting that is held once a month. So I was unable to accommodate
think-
that. And I did respond in email, and you did respond that the 31st was fine.
I
So
think we
I'm
need to
sorry
meet,
for the
and I
miscommunication.
certainly am willing to schedule it when Brett's available so that the 3 of us can sit down. I have a number of issues other than the contract or your job description or whatever that we need to resolve. I've got open projects, I've got people calling me from the public. I'm tired of apologizing to the public, and I really think we need to sit down and work out all the details.
Did you have anything else, Madam Administrator? You have the floor.
You know, part of me thinks it's not worth it, Nancy. I did respond. I hope you read it. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say but to somebody who doesn't think needs improvement is a negative evaluation. I just don't. And it's a little out of touch, to be honest, because if you do read my response, I provide examples of how I have done the things
A
that you're
response
telling
is
me.
after the fact, that's my problem.
I understand. This goes in my personnel file. This is your evaluation of me.
I know that.
So I provided a document, which is my right to do, responding to that. That also goes in my personnel file. I have that here tonight, and I plan on giving that to you. And I hope you read it.
Unfortunately, because we didn't meet, your response is after the fact. I could have said to you, you want to look at your evaluation? Do you have specific questions about things that I've written? All right? And we could have done that. Quite frankly, with Selectman Zagrafis saying, I worked with her on this and I worked with her on that, I'm sitting here thinking, how come I didn't know that? This is my whole point about the team approach. When I was here the last time, coming back this time, every board I have worked with, except the last one, even when it was, when Dr. Z was elected initially, when projects came up, it was, okay, this is what we got to do. Who's going to take the lead on this? Who's going to do this? All right, so if you had multiple, well, somebody takes this one, someone takes that. But then we would always come back together and say, okay, this is where I am on this particular thing. And the next step is this. Okay, keep going. The other person would say, this is what I'm working on, and this is how we kept everything going, because we didn't have a town administrator back in the day, okay? With a town administrator here, I don't see that team thing going away. I've put together teams to work on certain projects. You have sent emails telling them, don't do it. No, I'm a member of this Board of Selectmen. I've got projects ahead of me. Some of them you were involved with, some of them you told them not to follow up on. I have got to get this stuff done. The one in particular, I got people asking me, I've apologized now 3 times.
I can understand, I know what project you're,
Madam
of course, you're the
Administrator,
chairman.
What I wanted to say to that, about the team approach, I thought the board had agreed that all the information would flow through the town administrator. So if you're doing projects, which great, like we all love projects, we all love getting stuff done. But it sounds to me like if I'm saying that we're working together on stuff, it sounds like I don't know how you're not part of the team. It sounds
I
like you may
agree.
have formed some other team that I don't even know about.
Every project I have worked on, I have come back and said to the board, okay, this is what happened today. This is what we're working on. There are certain things I've had to do that were follow-ups from previous things before we had a town administrator. So I would come in and say, okay, this is where, I'll use the Center Street sidewalk. This is where we are on this. Got that done, dun-da-dun-da-da. Got the checks, paid the people, got the, all of the paperwork done up to the order of taking. I requested Gay and Gay to do the order of taking. Mr. Delano sent him the information for the order of taking. I waited. I had Karen call. They hadn't gotten to it. I figured they were backlogged. I waited. One day I asked again, and Mrs. Aaronstein came in and says, I don't understand what this order of taking is. I says, I'll show you. I got out one of the bridge project. I showed her the order of taking. I explained to her why it was important. We waited, and I'm thinking, then I hear that who the attorney is that's working on it. That attorney came in to meet with us on another subject. And as he's leaving, he shook my hand. I didn't let go. I says, you're not leaving here until you tell me when I'm getting that order of taking. There was a lot of people in here. We went out so we could speak privately. I was told that you told him to stop working on it. I said, you can't stop working on it.
I don't have any recollection of that, and if that's the case, I'm sorry.
And immediately, I said to him, you will do this order of taking, and you will get it to me. We've already got the check. I've been to the registry. The rules haven't changed. I even went to the registry to make sure we were doing it correctly. And so I now have a draft order of taking. I intend to follow that up to match it with the records that the town has so that on a future agenda, we will vote an order of taking for the Center Street Sidewalk East project. Once that's voted, a time period kicks in. We won't have any trouble meeting the time period because Karen's holding the check for that. So as soon as we vote it, that can go to the registry. I'll take it up there, get it registered, and that will be behind us, finally. But the project ended
But
last
why
year.
would you not have said something to me?
I
Like,
did.
why did you, I'm sorry, I don't have a recollection of this land taking. The only thing I remember doing is calling the Delano's office and saying, hey, do you have those plans? Did you send those over to Gay and Gay? Because we can't seem to locate where we are in the process. And they said that they had received them. And then it was off and running, and I was no longer involved in it.
It
So,
wasn't
you know,
off and
and that's
running.
really not
But
what we're
anyhow,
here for tonight, and I'm sorry, and
understand that.
I would hope that in the future, any
But
sort of
that's the
issues
kind-
come
those are
up,
the-
you could come in and talk to me about them,
Those
and we
are the
can
kind of
resolve them
issues we
together.
need to talk about.
Right.
And that's
And
what
I
I
have
said,
my
and if
own
we can
set.
schedule it if Brett wants to be there, that's fine, we'll post a meeting. That's fine with me. But there are other projects that are hanging. As a matter of fact, the team that I put in place, you didn't respond to my team memo.
This is the Council Oak property? That's because the chairman said that everything would go through the town administrator, and then you were still
And that was the
operating as
directive
if
of
the
the
town
board.
accountant was the procurement liaison. I reached out to her, sensitive to that whole situation, and I said, what do you think of this? And she said there might be an educational bit to it that could change things. We have yet to been able to get together because she's been using up some vacation time and also busy with town accountant things. So we're not through there yet. I did send you a couple of emails today about that. I am still a firm believer that we have to go through Chapter 30B, that we can't use the land use thing that you found from Rochester, that it wouldn't apply because we are a municipality and is a publicly owned parcel of land.
Okay.
That takes time. My suggestion, which I have shared, is that we reach out to a local farmer or Bristol Aggie, asking them to take care of the land for us right now while we get our stuff in order and we can take some time and not rush things.
Okay, first of all, for the chairman to say that in effect, take that away from me, I was never notified. And no, I will not give that up. I'm the one who brought that
Okay.
Council Oak thing forward, okay? I'm willing to share all the information. The only reason that Rochester got involved, that sample, was because in the course of talking to a member of the team, I said to him, you know about this stuff. Who do you think, I saw the stuff from Marshfield. I said, that isn't going to help us, the stuff you got, that isn't going to help us. He told me to get in touch with Serpent. I did. Serpent came up with that information. I sent it out because I looked at it and said, I don't know if this applies. What I have done in the meantime, I got the agreement from Rehoboth because they rent farmland, lease farmland. The Rochester proposal was a license, not a lease. I sent that information to Attorney Gay and said, what do you think? Which one should we pursue? I don't want to pursue a license agreement if we should be pursuing the lease, okay? I now have documentation to look at from Attorney Gay's office that I'm willing to look at. The problem is, we paid for that land end of the year, beginning of the year. All of that time went by. If you didn't have the time to do it, all you had to say was, Nancy, I can't get to this right now. I could have gotten that done, but I thought you were handling it.
Well, with all due respect, it's the Conservation Commission's land.
I know it.
They have to be involved in
They are
what
going
they
to
want
be.
to do.
What I told the Conservation Commission the night I met with them, the final night when they voted the money, I told them, I will get the paperwork put together, we will figure out how to do this, and I will get back to you. Because nothing was done, and all of a sudden, people are saying to me, are you going to lease the land? Because if I want to bid on it, and if I'm going to be the successful bidder, I got to buy seed, I've got to get the land ready, I got to figure out, if I'm going to plant there with a certain crop, then I'm not going to put that crop over there. And I said, I understand all that. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I said, but the point is, that's a very public project. If we are going to do anything as far as getting something in place, and I've talked to a member of the team about this, whether or not the land gets planted this year, how does that affect the agricultural restriction? What has to be done to the land this year so that if we don't lease it this year, what has to be planted on that land so that when, certainly we will have a lease or something in place next year, and we will know who is going to plant it. But we can't let the land go fallow. And the response was, you're exactly right, that's got to be determined. So all of this stuff is in the works. My concern is, I could have done this in the snow of winter, but I wasn't aware that you didn't have the time to get to it. So that was my point.
And just to clarify, and then we'll go to Mr. Swartz and then back to Town Administrator Aaronstein. My email, first of all, I couldn't send it to you because it would be a violation of the open meeting law. So I thought it was going to be forwarded to you, but it wasn't actually about stop all the work. My point was, I felt like the town accountant had been asked to take the contract home before it was even in a finalized version. So I just didn't understand why we're asking people to review stuff that's not in a finalized version. And then later on, I believe it was 2 days later, at the meeting, we all agreed to wait until it was in a finalized version and to meet with Concom, whatever we needed to do to have that discussion with Concom. It wasn't stop, that was not my message, was not stop working on it.
Jen wasn't asked to take it home.
Yes, she was.
She was.
She was,
I
and
asked
she
her
was
to
willing
review it.
do
No,
overtime
read
for
the
it.
email. I said to
You
her,
did.
I asked her to take a look at it. Her response was, she didn't have time to do it during the week because she was working on budget and the warrant, and she was going to take it home. My response to that is, there has been no change in the rules that relate to Jen's flexibility in doing her job. She's got tight deadlines to meet. She's one of the few people that really has deadlines because of regulations. I don't ask anybody to work from home. I don't ask, sometimes I send emails and say, do not respond to this email. I send them out during the weekends, and I put on them, unless it's marked emergency, do not respond, okay? But by the same token, it is very important that we get all of this done. And what I'm saying to you is, I have tried to keep you in the loop on everything that's going along. I didn't get the feedback about not being able to get that done.
Okay.
What I'm hoping to give to, what we're gonna have to put together, not what I'm hoping. When we meet with the Conservation Commission, it's going to be, gentlemen, this is what we've come up with. It's been reviewed by town council. This is how that land will be leased or licensed or whatever it's gonna be called. We're ready to put it out to get bids, proposals, whatever. But we consider this the final document. We want you to look at it, and we need to know if you have concerns, because yes, it is your land. But the Concom is not, they don't have
understand that.
staff.
Right, I
you know?
understand that, and which is why I came away from the previous meeting when we discussed this. I generated a list of questions, I left it on your desk, because I knew that you wanted to work on this. I'm trying, I hope you can see I'm trying to work with you. I'm trying to patch up these miscommunications. Clearly, I have work to do,
I think we
and that's
have,
fine.
because I've made
And
this statement tonight. I'm gonna put this together as best I can. I'm gonna look at all of the options. I'm gonna read the recommendations, the information I got from Attorney Gay's office, because he's obviously done this somewhere, or probably multiple times. Try to get the best of everything we've collected, Marshfield, Rochester, Rehoboth, whoever else, so that a draft is ready for this board. And by then, we'll have a new member. The Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator, will go through the whole thing. When we collectively agree that we've got something that's workable, then we'll meet with the Concom. That's what I'm looking at.
And I think that we agree on that. I do agree with that. What came from that email is that I am very much, I think that, and I think you would agree with this based on the feedback I'm receiving in this evaluation, that directives issued to employees that fall under the jurisdiction of the board should be by vote of the board. I'm happy that you're assisting in this, in this procurement issue. I just want to make sure that we're following the procurement laws with it, and that we're getting it all set. And I don't think that we can do it for this year. I really just don't think we have the time.
But we've got to do something for this year.
I agree, and that's why I said my suggestion.
That's what we're going to come up with.
That's why my suggestion is to reach out to a local farmer, the Bristol Aggie, somebody, understand that it's no bearing on whether they will be the successful bidder or not, to help us out while we figure this out. That's all, that's the place where I'm coming from. And I think that they would do it.
Okay, the word directive I question. When I ask any employee of the town of Dayton a question, I don't consider it a directive.
I don't either.
Well, that's the word you used. I said to Jen, when you have a chance, take a look at this. Now, it was her response. I didn't say to her, I need you dun-ta-dun-ta-dun-ta-dun-ta-dun. I can tell you this, since I've collected this other stuff, I've sent her another email. And I said, you know that other stuff I gave you? Well, here's some stuff from Serpent. Tell me what you think about this. When I look at the stuff from Attorney Gay's office, again, I'm expecting feedback from her that says the kind of things we're looking for. This looks good here. That doesn't make sense, because I'm looking for consensus. I've got 3 other people, other than her, that I've asked for stuff, okay? Stuff meaning information. Give me advice, so that when it goes to us, when it goes to Concom, it's clean, whether the lease starts this year or next year. But Conservation was assured by me before they voted on this that I would personally make sure what we came up with was something that we would present to them for their approval, that they are not going to have to do the work. They can question it, they can give us advice. But I want a final project for the Concom.
Mr. Swartz.
Can I bring it back a little bit?
Of course.
That's a specific example of something. I have my opinions on how that process went. But can I make a recommendation through the meeting? That once the 3rd member of the board is elected, that the Board of Selectmen, similar to what the school committee does it every couple of years, where they go to MASC and they say, can you come in and help us with what roles and responsibilities of the school committee members are to work with the superintendent when they bring in a new superintendent, so everybody gets on the same page, that the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator will reach out to MMA which I'm sure offers the same service. This is new to us to have a town administrator. I think the Board of Selectmen would benefit from it by understanding what the roles should be as a Board of Selectmen, because I have some disagreement with how some of it's being handled. I think we as a town need to understand that it does change. It does change to the point of earlier it was talked about that communications from the Board of Selectmen should run through the town administrator. Before we had a town administrator, a lot of the things were, yeah, each Board of Selectmen had to do things one-off because that's how we were set up. And in order, as we've talked about over the last 5 or 6 years, how we professionalize government is we centralize that role. The Board of Selectmen's roles are not to be individuals outside doing they are to be a group that
Absolutely.
teamwork. They are a group that rolls out and comes up with those directions. But I think we as a community need to see in the Board of Selectmen, at least this Board of Selectmen, who can train the next Board of Selectmen or set the example for the next Board of Selectmen, need to have some kind of roundtable where somebody comes in, it goes through those rules. I mean, they're all laid out in how town administrators are, but I think we need that as a community. And I think everyone would benefit that, even if it's a more broader group and it's the Board of Selectmen, it's the department heads, there's a section for boards and committee chairmen, that everybody can understand how that interaction and how that role is. Because I think, Nancy, your perception of it is different than Brett's perception of it, maybe different than the new person, was different from the last guy that was here when they did it. And I think that's what we need. I think some of the communication that is or isn't going around right now is because people have a different perception of what is supposed to be done. So through you, Mr. Chairman, I would request that, and especially as a longtime chairman of a committee, because our role changed on how we do the budget process. I think it would benefit everyone, and I'm sure MMA offers that through one of their local outreach governmental branches. So.
I have no problem with that. And the first statement that you made, all directives of the Board of Selectmen, all communications from the Board of Selectmen, should go through the town administrator. I agree with that completely. The board to the town administrator, from the board to the town administrator recommends and advises us back and forth about whatever's going on. I agree with that completely. That's not the same relationship with a superintendent of schools and a school committee. School committee is like the Board of Selectmen.
I just use that as an example.
Yeah, all I'm saying is,
I just use that as an example of what they do.
Yeah.
Of what they do.
Yeah.
I'm talking within the roles, there is got to be some type of forum that sets that up.
That is how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
We are
I agree.
we are supposed to have all the information flow through the town administrator.
Right.
She does what she needs to do, and then if it needs a vote or we need to know exactly what's
Exactly.
going on, and then take a vote, then it comes to
Right.
us here
And it's
tonight.
incumbent upon the Board of Selectmen to make sure and press that information goes that way. And for years, we had a lot of one-offs and people that do things one-off, that just as long as that communication flow is there, from my dealings with Mallory, I know that's what she wants to do.
Correct.
She wants to make it right. She wants to do it. I think there's some perceptions that people had when the third member of the board was on that are totally unfounded, untrue, and need to be let go and allow people to, and don't anybody take it as, I'm not pointing it at any person, but I think we need to, sometimes I don't let things go either, but we have to let things go. And I get it, that format was terrible.
The slate is, I said, the slate is clean.
I'm just saying, the format
Yes.
it's not cohesive
No,
enough.
it's
But
not
you know what?
professional.
I've been through many companies and many different ones. They're never good. You're never going to find the perfect evaluation form. You're right about the one-size-fits-all. Every company tries to do a one-size-fits-all. It's very difficult
Not the
to do.
university.
It's very difficult, and I don't envy that, but, I think,
As I said, I came from a structured, very structured environment, and that's why I've brought in two. And I'm not saying we have to use them, but it shows two levels. It shows self-evaluation as the first thing. It shows progressive evaluations for new employees. For example, the classroom teacher. I believe if they're still doing it this way, the first year, there are 3 visits to the classroom by whoever's going to evaluate the teacher. And that goes on, and then there's a final. And this continues on, because if they get the 4th appointment, it's tenure. So they have, that's even more structured than what I'm used to. But I agree with you, and that's why I said, as far as I'm concerned, clean slate, we're gonna have a brand-new board member, we're gonna have the ability, I believe, to really work as a team, a board of selectmen that is a team. Going back to, I don't want to say the old days, but going back to when we were a team because we had to be a team, because we had no one else. And the current situation we've had before. We had, my first year, we had somebody who had a full-time business. That's worse than a full-time job, it's your business. We had another person who was retired but worked part-time, but it was kind of like a side business, okay? I was the only one that was retired. I didn't spend all my time in this office, okay? We didn't have a town administrator, but we had a person who had been here for 20-some years who literally ran from the perspective of the Board of Selectmen's office, ran everything related to the Board of Selectmen, because the board had that much confidence in her. She was excellent, all right? And she just did it. Whatever you needed, you asked her, and boom, 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 all right? We've evolved, we've changed. And quite frankly, I'm looking for great things, because when we get a full board again, I think we're gonna get back to working together as a cohesive board with now, we not only have an administrative assistant, or back in the day it was, I don't know, secretaries of the board, we have a town administrator, okay? So we've got additional hands. And that's the other thing, I'm looking for additional hands to help. I'm looking for additional help. I wouldn't be doing this stuff at home if there were help available to me, including 20 hours of secretarial time. But I am certainly not going to say to Karen, well, I want you to drop that because I want you to do this. No, I would just as soon do it because I know Karen's been buried, and we have talked about doing something for her for years, and it still hasn't happened. So we got to look at that too.
Without you getting offended, please. Because that's one of the points that I made. This is my opinion. It is not the role. If there's something that a selectman wants to work on, the communication really has to be with the town administrator to say, for the town administrator to make that determination that if this is a project that the Board of Selectmen are working on, or one Board of Selectmen is working on, that the town administrator says, well, let me take that, let me do this for you, I'll report back to you, or Karen and I will figure it out, or like we talked about in the Finance Committee meetings, yes, we need additional secretarial time or administrative help in the town administrator's office, because that's the point that I was trying to make about the one-offs. If you're running a project like that and doing a lot of the work at home, and there's not a lot of communication, and Brett was doing one, and the third member's doing one, that's not accomplishing what we've been trying to do in centralizing our governmental structure. So
And I think that's what I'm trying, the point I was trying to make about communication flow. Whenever I am working on a project, like as everybody knows, I started Green Communities when I got here. I started Right to Farm when I got here. That's all flowed through Mallory before it ever went to a public hearing, before it ever, and my colleague as well has seen it as well. So
and that long discussion you guys just had about council, that really shouldn't have to come up as a 45-minute discussion at the Board of Selectmen's office. At a Board of Selectmen's meeting, it should be, we are here to vote on, this is what we're going to do, this is what we've accomplished, or here's an update. It shouldn't become that.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah. So.
I absolutely. The sidewalk project that I'm got to take care of, Council Oak, these were things that came up at the end of the year. Well, the sidewalk thing started before the end of the year, all year long, because we got it constructed. fact of the matter is, those were the things I expected to follow up and over and done with. They weren't completed the way they should have been. Then I started asking why. And when I found out what people were saying, people that I trust, people I rely on, I said, well, let me get involved. I'll see what I can do. I will. And I have made periodical reports at this meeting about Council Oak, okay? Been collecting all this data. But now I feel that we got enough data. I'm looking now for some way to figure out what are we going to do for whoever is going to handle that land. I'm going to call handle it because it's not farming it. I mean, farming means a commitment. What can we do with the land this summer, because we're into the planting season, everyone's plowing, everyone's planting, they're doing all this stuff, and we're dealing with Mother Nature. But we've also got an agricultural restriction that we have to be aware of, and it's going to go through the Conservation Commission because it's their land, okay? So pulling it all together, my colleagues will know, okay? The new person on the board will know. Here's the update. This is where we are. This is what we've got put together. And town council says, dun-da-dun-da-da, all right? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking for.
I think please don't allow me, you can correct me after. Please, yeah, I know you won't hesitate to. But what I think you're saying is it should all it should flow through the town administrator. It should not be a report.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, like, to the point, and I don't really want to get into the conservation thing out there, because I think we should just throw it out to the resident to say, would you like a community garden there for the summer, and we'll open it up, we'll do it.
We have some updates on that,
Yeah,
we'll tell you next
but
week.
I heard Mallory state that, you know, she had some ideas about Bristol Aggie and doing those, and if there was that communication flow going back and forth, what you talked about may be done already. You guys might have been able to have it done.
And without getting into a report, rest assured, yes. The answer is yes, okay? But I will also point out to you, and I don't think anyone has realized this, I can't be the only one. There's an expression, MBWA, management by walking around. She has been buried, literally, with work since she came through the door. And to add more stuff like this, all I'm saying is, if I ask someone about something and they say, I don't have time to do it, I don't have a problem. Not at all. She has been buried, literally, and I don't think people understand. I'm talking about Mrs. Ehrenstein. I know what the kind of time she's had to put in, okay?
The point that Brad made was that, in my opinion, that should be for her to make that determination to you to say, I can't do this.
I agree.
I'm very good, but I just hope that that's the type of stuff, as you said, clean slate after this. That, because I hear a lot of stuff around town, I will tell you, there may be one or two department heads, but I will tell you, I got calls from department heads today who wanted to come because they were nervous about what her evaluation was going to look like, because she has the support of many of the department heads in this building and in town. So, you know,
that's today, and it changes,
There's bumpy roads, everybody's got, as I always said, I'm never going to lose a friendship over politics. That we can respectfully disagree. We don't have enough of that in our world today, that people can respectfully disagree. But I was watching at home, and it moved me to come down because I just thought there was some little bit of unfairness going on. You know, I'm not going to take a side and jump in, but I want to make it better, because nobody advocated more for us to have this position in the town than me, because I think we needed it. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. One of them was in here. I talked to our state rep and said, why don't we get stuff? You know, I hear people all the time say, Representative Hatter, you know what her response to me was? And I already know. Ask.
It's true.
We don't ask.
She did ask.
Right.
She's asked.
And that's what Pat said, we don't ask. And I found that shocking, because I'm always calling her to ask for something.
But that has changed remarkably, because back in 2016, I came back with CCC. My two colleagues said, let's go for it. We got it. And now what we're saying is, we're getting emails on all of these grant things that are coming in left and right. I gotta tell you, CCC was a Republican issue. And when we went and had the Lieutenant Governor come, there was a remark made to me personally, do you know she's a Republican? I said, I don't care what she is. If it means money for the town of Dayton, they're welcome, okay? But I think a lot has been done money-wise because, like I say, that grant, we are not being ignored.
We're moving and grooving.
A suggestion was made, we need a grant writer to handle all the grants that are being offered to us. I mean, it's remarkable. But, yeah, we're asking now, everyone's got their hands out, whatever they want to give us, we're
Thank you for
ready.
your time today, I appreciate it, I care. That's why I'm here, I care.
I think we all care, Ed.
So,
Okay,
Madam
so,
Administrator.
I compiled a list of proposed goals. We need to vote on these. These now become my contractual goals for the following year. So if you wouldn't mind, one copy for you, no problem. One copy for you, one copy for Selectman Goulart. If you notice, items, both of Selectman Goulart's fall into a couple of Selectman Zagorofis.
agreed.
So, we have to vote on 4. So I think number 1 of Selectman Goulart, which is continue working on policies, Policy Review Board, and number 1 of Selectman Zagorofis, assist the Board of Selectmen with
consolidate.
overall. Those can be
Kinda
one.
got that right.
I agree with Selectman Goulart, we should revamp the town administrator evaluation, but I actually think that's not something that you need to do on your own. I think we
agree.
can do that with you, so it doesn't, necessarily need to be a
Just
goal.
like giving her a contract saying, and the job description is attached, go write it. No.
It was not.
Unprofessional, no question about it. So, I think you, I, and the new board member need to get some more evaluations from other places.
And I liked that
come up
one
with-
that you gave us last week.
Yeah, well, even if we don't use that, we can pull parts out of it.
I liked it as well. I looked at it, and it's pretty
There's
good.
pieces you
So
can use.
I can give you my notes if you'd like.
Okay, very good.
Did you have anything else?
No, I'm
Okay.
good. Again, I'll give this to you at the end of the meeting. I do hope you read it. What I'm gleaning here is I'm actually glad we went through this process because it's what I needed to know.
Well, it was
Where you have a
cathartic.
failure of communication, and I will get better on that. And
I wanted to say, not just to the public, but to you, not just as the position or the office of town administrator, Ed, we met probably in 2015, 2016 about it. You explained the merits, and I supported it, and I went on as a candidate for selectman to support the office of town administrator. So my pledge in public, in front of everybody, is to continue supporting the office. Any way that I can improve myself and how I am professionally or how I work professionally on projects, I'm happy to modify if you're uncomfortable with something. But what I want to state unequivocally is you are doing a great job. And I mean that objectively. I have had a lot of feedback from people I actually didn't know in town who have reached out to me to tell me what a fantastic job you're doing. I wish they'd say I was doing a great job, but
You don't get that,
right?
you get elected.
I only get the things to do.
You only get, your evaluation comes up every 3 years at the poll.
that's the poll.
Coming up this year. But what I wanted to add is that I will support you in the role as long as you choose to be here, because I believe in you, and it has been a pleasure working with you. The things that you got done, don't start, because I'll start, but the things that you have accomplished with this board as a team in just 6 months astounds me. I'm sure Selectman Taylor, if he's not asleep right now, is watching. And he's proud as well, I'm absolutely sure. And again, if there's anything I can do to make things better or easier for you in this first year transition, don't hesitate to call or
Thank you.
tell me, okay?
Thank you.
And I will say, you said you support the position. The position is here, period. Everyone who voted on it, the ones that had to sell it, I was one of those people because I sat in this room when the proposal was they wanted to go to a board of 5 selectmen. I said, it's the wrong time. You've got to split the Board of Health off. You've got to look at town administrator, but you've got to split the Board of Health off first, because I'm telling you, we can't handle the workload. That took place. We got the town administrator, okay? People are asking about the other thing. That's on the thing for a opinion poll. But the fact of the matter is, I don't consider this a bad evaluation. I consider it an honest assessment of what I observed since day one. I will tell you, if this is surely going to tick off somebody, if you had been allowed to come in here, see how things run, set goals based on what you found when you saw how processes were, and were given the freedom to be creative and do it, even this silly form would have been filled out differently. I do not feel from day one you were allowed the creativity that I'm sure you have, okay? We have similar education backgrounds, not majors, but similar. I recognize creativity, I recognize ability. And I think, in all honesty, and this is going to tick someone else off, probably the same person, you were stifled. You were told, this is what should be done, this is, you know what? And I said, goals were created. Well, if you're going to have goals, there must be objectives. So we need objectives to go with these. They're not the same thing. The slate's clean. I don't see anyone saying to you, here's the list. This is what you have to do. Dun, da, dun, da, dun, da, dun. Okay? The stuff that will come up, the day-to-day operations, I think we're going to see it. That was the reason why I argued and argued about the wording in the contract. Okay? She's got to have flexibility. She's got to be able to manage it. You said yourself, you take a day and work from home, it's wonderful because you accomplish so much. That's creativity. That's flexibility. That's you personally doing what you do best without somebody hovering over you or being parked in your office so many hours in the morning. But I'll leave it at that. And I expect her to be here too, until somebody gives her a better offer and more money, because that's what happens with
I feel
good
like
town
I'm opening
administrators.
the door by
I
saying
know.
this.
I'll
But I
also
do-
say this too.
but hold-
I love
do-
small towns, just so everyone knows.
But I do, so what you're saying is, the former selectman needs improvement, not the town administrator.
I said you don't want to tick off
I just,
anybody.
public needs clarification. Mr. Rhines.
Jim, I'd just like to just make one point, that, to say this to the residents, please, this is a work in progress. The woman came into a new position, into a new town, and contractually, some things were not in her contract. That now that changes want to be made, so please, just, the residents, be patient, this is a work in progress, so as well as the Board of Selectmen, working in conjunction with the town administrator, please, it's just, again, it's a work in progress.
And it's a clean slate. We're gonna have a new member here in another month or so, all right? And as I say, I don't want to, I'm not gonna say, I'm not expecting miracles. I think that we are going to see the town administrator's true ability, flexibility, creativity come forward. I believe she's been stifled for a while. And I think that things are going to change. I really do. I just, as I said, I won't tick anybody else off,
I
but
just want to discover, but then again, what is the power of the chamber of the Board of Selectmen, the opportunity and the right to sit down one-on-one with the town administrator without the board as a whole, knowing what discussions are taking place behind that closed door?
Any member can sit down with me one-on-one,
This is
and
not-
actually, I welcome them.
I'm not attacking any individual out there.
No, I know,
That's
I
what
just,
said.
that's how I operate, I need to fill them in, and what has transpired here has shown that I need to work out and carve some time with Selectman Goulart, and that's fine, we'll do that. Brett and I talk in the morning, usually on my way to work and his way to work, so we'll talk, we converse via text. or email.
Not while you're
So-
driving.
No,
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 no. Or email, so I keep him updated on things that he needs to know, or any little crises that may occur during the day. Or what have you.
Same for
I mean,
Karen.
it's really, you know, and just like I invite anybody can, I am literally love to hear from people, so anyone can come and sit down and find out anything.
All I know is I heard loud and clear tonight from Selectman Goulart that bygones are bygones of what went on with it, and I hope that 6 months from now, we sit here and we listen to a whole different discussion from the whole board and the town administrator that, hey, I agree, I think somebody said it was good. Whether you agree with what was on the process or what was on the paper, I think it was a really good discussion tonight for everybody to hear, including everybody in the room and the public, that, hey, there's some disconnects going on, but they're gonna get worked out because everybody involved wants them to get worked out.
And I'm willing to, and if you agree, I'm willing to tell you, 6 months from July 1st, and I'm not giving you, December, Christmas, or whatever, roughly 6 months from July 1st, which is the beginning of the year, a full year, I think we will have a process in place for, let's say, the initial review of FY19, the first 5 or 6 months, whatever, which will involve the evaluation interim, to meet with the town administrator, to come up with a ranking, to talk about whatever, and then there will be an annual evaluation, which will be the last half of FY19. And I really think we can come up with a form that's professional, is accurate, meets the list, or addresses the duties, the responsibilities, all of that stuff that relates to her job, okay? And so that there will actually be, I'll call it a interim progress report, interim review, whatever you want to call it, in preparation for the final evaluation. It makes no sense to issue one evaluation, even if this were a whole year, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Well, wait a minute. If there's a problem somewhere, you waited a whole year to bring it up? So that's why you don't do this in the real world, right? Anyone in a professional position knows that these things take place. I've even talked to some hospital people. How often do you do it? What do you do? So everyone has a different, but you never go a whole year without, that's why I said, to me, the time period, the form, whatever, yeah, we had to do it, but.
It is getting
Okay,
late, so.
we just need to decide, so we can wrap
May
this
I
up.
make a statement before we vote on anything? And I just feel like this individual's name has been invoked, so I don't want to comment, I just want to say for the record, if you're watching, I know you did as good a job as you could, Selectman Taylor, I know it was hard for you. I just think that we should mention that we appreciate your service to the town, and I just wanted to thank you publicly. I know you get a lot of criticism. It's not easy being a selectman. I know everybody would agree. So that's what I wanted to say. I'll say it personally. Not everyone might share, but you're a good man. You're a good person. And I look forward to hanging out with you on the outside. Madam Administrator.
Okay, so I'm just looking to get some goals, and so number one, and I'll flesh out some action plans with these, but assist Board of Selectmen with overhaul and approval of the new policy manual and continue working on policies with the Policy Review Board. To me, that's all sort of one. I like the complete all procurement training because that keeps me on track to achieve that certification, which I feel is a requirement of the Board of Selectmen and the board in this job. Actually, I'm sorry, so number two has been taken over from Selectman Goulart, has been essentially taken over by the board.
Correct.
So all
But
four
we-
from,
We're going to do that with you.
yeah, oh, of course, right, but it would not be a goal
It's not a
coming
goal
under
for her,
me.
no.
So
Oh, she'll
one
be
through
involved, but
four,
She doesn't have to do it.
That'd be an easy goal.
do you want to do 1 through 4 as submitted by Selectman Zagrafis?
I just feel like
I agree with all of them.
3 is a little ambiguous.
I would say review, a goal would be, review and revise the process.
Correct.
Review
There you
and
go.
revise,
Budget process.
the budget process.
Okay. I also have to plug Jen here for a second because this came up when we met with the intern, and we said, oh, that would probably be a really great opportunity for you to sit in on and learn about the ways that different boards and departments work together for a municipal budget. And then we said, oh, wait, when are you leaving? So Jen actually is willing to accommodate her own personal schedule, and, or not accommodate, but switch her own personal schedule to accommodate this meeting. So that meant a lot to me, so thank you, Jen. But
Thank you, Town Accountant Louise.
Oh, he's going to get a really interesting education, because
I
he's
think
not.
he's coming at a
he's
very
not
exciting
public.
time. No,
He's
he
not
said
public.
that, I wish he was here today, but he was,
He's a
he
business
was,
major, but it's not
he
public.
didn't know what aspect of accounting he wanted to explore. So we're going to rank him into the public accounting. But it's a good opportunity for him, and I really appreciate him reaching out to the town and finding us. Okay, so, and then help board
Is there
selectmen
any
input.
that you might think, based on you've been here for 6 months now, you've had a chance to sort of acclimate yourself to the town. Was there anything before we vote on this that you think might be an appropriate goal? Not just for you, but for the town as well.
Yes, but I think these are good. Having to do 4, I'm ambitious, I think everyone sees
I'm thinking
that.
number 4, I think we ought to put that one on hold, because I think we, the board, 3 of us, when we get another board member, I think we've got to do our own first, and then from that will flow employee evaluation process.
Oh, you mean when we revamp the,
The finance committee
Yeah,
had said they
that might-
wanted other people evaluated. And I think that not only its evaluation process, it's going to have to be an education process, because town employees have never been evaluated.
correct.
Elected employees, you can't evaluate them. They're like us. If they get
They
reelected,
wouldn't stay to
they're here.
listen.
And for our non-elected, appointed employees, it's gonna be a process, because they've never had to do that. So, do you want do you have to have a 4th one?
It says 4, but the board
Does it
can
say
vote.
up to 4?
It says a minimum of 4.
Minimum
But you
of
can,
4.
That's one of the things we need to change.
Yeah, right.
the board can vote, and this, I have to do up an MOU anyway to agree on the goals.
Okay.
So the board can vote.
Is 3
just to do-
okay?
yes.
The only,
3 is
and the
great.
other reason I think that's a good point is because, certainly if something, happened and we were able to get a fair and equitable evaluation, but not actually implement the process, that I wouldn't want you personally to be penalized for something that might just take some time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's what I say. We've made a
It's not something
commitment,
you're entirely in control of.
and we've made a commitment, you agree, that 6 months from July 1st, they're about 6 months, we will have a document in place so that, what I'm thinking is, it'll be a 2-step process. The first one is going to be an interim review. It'll be an evaluation, because the whole point is to bring the employee along to work towards a good evaluation. And if you find something that needs improvement, or there's miscommunication, you bring it up at that interim and not let it go on and on and on. I'm thinking of, when I say school teachers, they used to be evaluated 3 times during the year. I don't know if that still holds. But they have that opportunity by an experienced educator who can sit in that classroom and see what's going on, and then work with that classroom teacher to say, this was very good, good strength. This area here in dealing with whatever it is, this is a good way to get this across for reading purposes or whatever, okay? And that's the kind of thing, as I say, you want all employees to make progress, to move along, you end up with a good employee, and boom, 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 okay? And it should be progressive.
Yeah, I'm
That's what I'm
okay,
saying.
as long as it's not like two separate evaluations.
No,
I
no,
think
no,
the
one
annual,
would build
a
on the other
review,
one.
a review makes more sense.
Yeah,
Because then it's
yeah.
just like a
Right.
discussion.
The documents that Selectman Goulart provided, it makes a lot of sense, what she's describing tonight and how it's laid out.
And you would think that was fair?
I don't know, I'm still marinating that. I mean, I think it's
On an
fair,
interim
but
review?
the
When-
interim review. Yeah.
I think when we,
Can we discuss that further?
well, I think when we get a full board,
Yes.
okay? I think I only gave that document to
Me.
you, okay, so you haven't seen them. So,
I wrote on them too, I'm sorry, I'll have to
well,
get
that's
fresh
all right. I
copies.
can just.
White out.
They're online,
Oh,
so
good.
that they can be printed, so that, I think if each one of us gets, because I didn't keep a set either, but if each one of us gets a set, when we have a full board, each one of us gets a set independently, takes those and marks them up. Then we get together as a board and we go through it. That looks pretty good, yeah, we all agree. Oh, well, that one there, that's, all right? But we come up with something that we think is gonna work, and maybe we add some stuff to it from our own experience or from data we've collected or whatever. We put it in a draft form, and then we give it to the town administrator and say, this is what we've come up with, okay? And then if she's got any stuff to add, or, you know, here's an area of strength I feel that should be included, and so that would be in there, all right? But we got time to, the two of them are gonna come together, the two forms. One will build on the other, okay? But I really think that it's a progressive thing.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so there are 3 goals this year.
Okay.
That's fine. Well, no, I'm not telling, I'm asking. And so it's number 1, 2, and 3 listed here under Brett Zagrafis.
I just want to, before we vote on this, and I'm asking for your opinion as well,
Okay.
Selectman Goulart, do we think it will be possible to actually approve a new policy manual? And mind you, the reason I say that is because now we're going to have this policy review board, and I don't know how quick they'll be to get certain things back, like employment-related policies. So what is your thought on that?
I think I can do it. I like a
Okay.
challenge.
Again, not all of it would be
I know, it's not
at
all-
your
right,
speed or at your
exactly.
pace, because
So-
you're waiting for people to get back to you.
The good news is that we have all of these policies drafted with proposed recommendations that you've already voted on, and that we can put them all together and give them to the review board. My idea is to, once I have my last appointee, so once everybody's compiled, my idea is to do the ones that are easy, like smoke-free workplace, jug-free workplace, these like normal
No-brainer.
ones that aren't really, and get those out of the way. And then work, with them on the harder ones where they would have more,
And going along with that, by the same token, now it's December, and we're looking at goals. And she gives us an update on that one, and says, well, we got through this much, but there's a problem with this one. And then we continue on.
can vote to
If
amend.
they all aren't done by next June or whenever, I don't have a problem with that, because we will know the progress of how it was going, and it may carry over into the next year. Not all goals are possible to complete within the calendar year or the fiscal year or whatever the time period is, simply because there are extenuating circumstances.
Of course.
And these policies, yeah, some of them are gonna be easy. There are gonna be others that.
That are not.
That,
You might get some
um,
headaches.
Easy, yeah.
because of the number of people involved, and you have to consider union personnel and administrative personnel, the whole gamut. So, yeah, I agree. So,
I almost feel more comfortable with, instead of it saying overhaul and approval, I almost just want it to be assist BOS with new policy manual. That way it's not like, oh, it didn't get passed before,
It's a smart goal, it's measurable. Like you
correct.
can
And then you're
attain it.
not beholden to it actually being
Right.
approved by a certain, date.
yeah,
I appreciate
So it's a little more vague, I guess, is what I'm saying.
you gotta have latitude, because this isn't a one-person type assignment.
Correct.
You've got
A lot of other moving
You got-
parts.
extenuating circumstances, depending on what you're dealing with, okay? And if you get one that's really, this one's tough, we can't do
Yeah.
it, so you set it aside and move on.
Right, exactly.
And get as many done as you can.
Yep. I
You
agree.
okay with that?
I am,
Okay,
yes,
so
thank you.
strike overhaul and approval,
Sure.
which is gonna be vague.
All right, so if you could just vote on those, and I'll put together an
Okay, so what's the
MOU.
first one gonna read, strike overhaul?
Assist BOS with new policy manual.
Is it with new policies or with revisions to existing policy
It would be
manual?
both. It would be both.
With, assist board with,
I just put new policy manual.
with, revision to existing policies. And, creation of new policies? Okay, does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we got, two is the training, and the other one is review, revise,
The budget
the
process.
budget process
For fiscal year 2018 budget.
for FY '20. God, we're already there.
I know.
Just aged another year. Okay, you ready for a motion?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we establish, with the town administrator, her goals for FY '19. It will be to assist with revisions to existing policies and creation of new policies. 2, complete all procurement training. 3, review/revise the budget process for FY '20.
I'm gonna step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. The ayes have it. All right. Okay. Next on the agenda, I'm gonna make a request as we go further since it's already 10:10, but I'll do that when we get there.
This is in.
Oh, sorry. Here's mine.
It's in this one.
Yep, that one's for you. We're gonna give these back. So next on the agenda, is a vacation time inquiry.
This is, I have this here with the Board of Assessors and the Principal Assessor. If you might remember, back in January, the town of Dayton hired Lisa Tetro to start in the Board of Assessors office, and she came with several years of experience with assessing and building department experience. The board voted to recognize her years of experience in another municipality because it was specifically related to her role that she'd be taking on here in Dayton. And that was 6 years, giving her grade 6 and 3 weeks vacation. But as part of that, we also required her to finish and complete a probationary period. And during the probationary period, you're not allowed to take your vacation. So we essentially gave her 3 weeks vacation, said you can't use it, it expires, and her probationary period's up after the new year.
July 17th.
July 17th. So, she
And this is
requesting
15 days, right?
15 days.
I think it's totally reasonable for Ms.
It's kind
Tetro
of
to
funny
be
that we,
allowed to take the vacation time that she was not allowed to take this fiscal year.
So we're gonna allow, is the request carry it over?
Yep,
carry
the
over
15
all
days of
15 days,
vacation.
so she'd
Okay.
end up with 30 days vacation. And it is
And that's
1
still
week
30 less
extra.
than she'd get if she lived in France.
Right.
So that's fine with me.
So, anyway, I think it's a little, it doesn't make sense for us not to do it because we gave it to
I
her and
just
then
feel
took it
like-
away.
Yeah, correct, and we shouldn't penalize someone for not being able to take vacation.
I can tell you, previous boards have allowed such to happen because we had somebody who became ill and was out for quite a period of time, who normally took vacation towards the end of the year, there was no way. And so we allowed that person to carry it all over. The person did as much as they could to use vacation, but we allowed him to carry more than 2 weeks because it was
Special
illness. I mean, nothing you
Oh,
could do.
absolutely.
Okay,
All right,
just
I'll
a vote
accept
to that.
motions on this, absolutely.
I'm looking, was there a letter on that?
Yeah,
Oh,
right here,
yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
here. And then it's at the bottom with
Yep.
the, how many
Okay.
days.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the request that Lisa Tetro be allowed to carry over 15 days of vacation into FY19 due to extenuating circumstances.
I'm going to happily step down and second that motion. Discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Ayes have it. Next on the agenda is a request for permission for the town, for a cycling event. I know this is near and dear to your heart, Selectman Goulart. You can take it away.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. This isn't the one that this isn't my team. But this is a worthy cause. This is from Patricia Belden she's Development Coordinator for Special Events for the Susan G. Komen New England. I believe this is a breast cancer research organization. On September 29, 2018, cyclists from throughout New England will gather for the second annual Impact Ride. This is a one-day cycling event which raises funds to support Susan G. Komen New England's commitment to saving lives by meeting the most critical needs of our communities and investing in breakthrough research to prevent and cure breast cancer. Last year, for our inaugural event, we had about 100 riders and raised just over $50,000 to support our mission. Our routes will pass through Dayton, and we are writing to request permission of the town for our event. We would like to request permission to mark the routes with road paint in the weeks leading up to the event and place signage the week before the event along the route. We require all cyclists to be wearing helmets and to follow the rules of the road while participating in our event. This is a fully supported ride with rest stops and SAG vehicles, I don't know what that means, on the routes to ensure the safety of all participants. SAG is all capitals, capital S, capital A, capital G.
I think they're the follower.
It's a support? Okay. We are expecting 100 to 150 people to be riding, but there will not be more than 30 people passing through Dayton at once. The ride will have 3 route lengths, 25 miles, 62 miles, 100 miles, all leaving from and finishing at Sensata Technologies in Attleboro. The 62-mile, 100-mile routes will be passing through your town between 12 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. I have included route maps for the routes passing through your area for your review. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and she gives her email and phone number. Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to grant permission for the Susan G. Komen New England bike ride to pass through Dayton, contingent on approval from Mr. Ferry regarding the marking of roads.
And I'm going to step down and second that motion with the caveat mentioned regarding Mr. Ferry's approval. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
The good news on this next item is it's resolved itself. It's
Oh.
all set.
Okay, so I guess I'll just be very brief. This was a request for assistance by the fire chief regarding Maris Lane fire hydrant repair. He had just sent a letter expressing his concern to the planning board regarding a fire hydrant that had been struck by a private plow operator this winter. And Madam Administrator, did you want to give us an update?
The hydrant has been repaired and all is well. We are unsure if it was there's two conflicting stories about how the hydrant was damaged, so we don't know which way that it was repaired, but the good news is that it's repaired, it's working, and it's there to save homes and lives if necessary.
Very
Okay,
good.
That
perfect.
makes us happy.
Good work. Quick turnaround time on
Full
that. Good
miracle.
work. Next is a road cut permit request by Columbia Gas of Massachusetts. This is to the Board of Selectmen from Columbia Gas of Massachusetts. Dear Sirs, why don't they say Madam? We request permission to excavate for gas maintenance repair at the following location with all necessary appurtenances. Install new gas service, 4 foot by 6 foot by 15 foot road cut short side at 322 Jennifer Lane. And they just give some other information. This is from Bradley Rogers. And they did also include a brief sketch.
I thought you were gonna say Gray Terrace.
Oh, no.
Because it's all painted
You would've
with
known
green
already.
lines. Well, it's got lines. I asked Tommy. They're not Tommy's lines.
I don't know who's out there drawing. Is this
G.
sidewalk
Cohen's
chalk?
line?
No, this is, it was blue paint and white paint. And I said, what does that mean? And he told me. Then I went out and came back and there was green paint. And I says, what does that mean?
I don't know what green is.
So I think someone's maybe getting a new service or something.
Could be.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the request of Columbia Gas for a road cut permit to install new gas service at 322 Jennifer Lane.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
Oh, we usually have something from,
It's okay from Tom.
Oh, yeah, he usually does that pink, you know, the pink
so
sleeve.
contingent on approval by Mr. Ferry.
Sure, absolutely.
It's all set.
Duly
He
noted.
said, yeah, he said it's good.
All right. Oh, yeah, I wrote here, Tom gave green light. I don't know where I got that. Oh, okay, per Tom, it's right on the,
We need the pink phone. It's not the pink phone. Do you have a pink phone?
I don't have it yet, though.
Okay.
We'll get it. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Next on the agenda this evening, bids for lease on a town hall copier. My question for this, Miss Brady, I feel bad. I'll direct it at the town administrator. Was this to have a second copier, or is this to replace the one out?
Place. So the
What
lease
happened to
is
that
up.
one?
The lease is up.
Oh, okay, sorry, I thought it was purchased.
Approaching the end.
Got you. And nobody wants to renew the lease and keep it?
What do you mean?
You can't just renew the lease on the current copier?
After 5 years, we
They
use
They
this
have better
thing.
options.
Oh,
now.
okay,
We're
all
gonna
right,
get
so it's
one.
not even an option, I guess. is-
Also,
okay.
this thing is used,
Yeah.
and it does a great job.
Can I ask a logistical question about that? And it's a little off topic, but you know how there's a lot of stuff programmed on that, Miss Brady? Does that mean someone has to go in and program it all again when you get a new one that's
Yes.
leased? They can't, we don't have somebody that can go network
You would have been a
administration?
network administrator.
Yes,
You
Okay.
also have to erase
Working on it.
everything that's on there currently.
My other question, and I apologize, I promise I will stop after this. Is there a preference of the employees who use this copier for which one?
I think they care
They
about
prefer.
speed and non-jamming.
So, so they'd be okay with,
That's what we care about.
I understand.
And
I
scanning.
also care about that when I'm here late making copies. Now, do they prefer the Savin MP 6055 SP or the 6503 SP? They didn't have a preference? Mm-hmm.
We had a discussion today, and we felt that the one out there is plenty fast enough. And we could actually get into a lease for like $1 more than what we pay now. So I solicited bids from 3 companies. Core Business, which is the one that you see in front of you. So that's just $1 more a month. And then I solicited Kenmark Office Systems, which was comparable to Core Business, but they, for some reason, cannot sell in Bristol County. So they're out. And then I solicited Edron Business Systems, which did not have a response to the bid request. So we had a discussion today and thought that we should just stick with Core and go for the lower priced copier because we felt it was adequate.
Mhm.
And it was $246.17 a month.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that. And is just one, is that 6055 SP a similar model to?
It's exactly the same speed.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no slowing.
And it includes all parts, labor, toner, and developer?
Yeah, just like we have now.
Okay. So these are comparable
That's
lease
good,
options.
because toner and developer are ka-ching.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Thank God for Sursage, right? I don't know if
Well,
we
there,
get the
it's
toner and
exempt,
developer.
but we get the paper.
Yeah, it's a state contract, it's not Sursage, it's a mass state contract.
Now, did you have any questions?
Nope.
Are we prepared to vote this night? This night.
We
Oh my
need
God,
to.
what-
I love it.
Old English now. This fortnight.
I think is it up on June 5th?
Yes,
Right, so
June
yes,
4th.
June 4th,
Okay.
excuse me, so.
Oh, yeah.
So we do, yeah, we're not gonna, woo.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we award the bid for a lease on a Savin MP 6055 SP copier to Core Business Technologies at a cost of $246.17 per month for 36 months.
And I'm gonna step down and second that motion. Discussion? I just wanted to thank Mrs. Brady and everybody else and Town Administrator Aaronstein, who spoke to the other folks in the building to gauge their interest and what they felt comfortable with.
I didn't do that, just
Oh,
so,
okay.
so don't
So
think.
just
me for
Mrs.
that.
Brady,
It's
all right.
totally-
I take
totally
back my
Karen.
thanks. I really do appreciate that. I know you have a million things to do, so always on time. Any further discussion? I was talking to myself. All right, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Good work on that.
Thank you, Karen.
Since it is already 10:25 and it has come to my attention that we will be meeting next week, is it okay with everybody if we wait 1 week to do the year-end appointments? I know that is something that takes a while.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we table action on year-end appointments by the Board of Selectmen to our next meeting, currently scheduled for June 6th.
6th, yep. I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes, and you know who's the happiest about this. Our dear friends down in cable. You are not forgotten. Have a good night, Mr. Pacheco. Next on the agenda are year-end transfers. There's only one. Town Administrator Aaronstein, given light of our unexpected yet delightful piece of news that we are getting an intern, did you want to is there anything you wanted to say about the year-end transfer?
No, just, I hope you approve it, thank you, and thank you to the town accountant for funding your own line.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the year-end budget request for $1,000 to be transferred out of a town accountant, professional and technical, account 135-53002, town accountant, overtime, additional hours, account 135-5131, and it's for the intern we will have this summer.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? I just wanted to, again, echo the town administrator's sentiments. Thank you, Ms. Louise, and we're looking forward to seeing what gets accomplished with your intern this summer. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. The ayes have it. I'm just going to sign this. Thank you, Mrs. Brady. Just going to give my colleague a moment. We're almost done, Cable. I think hopefully college is over and none of these.
Oh, it is, yeah, I think so.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Brady. All right, we have some vacation rollover requests, and the first is from our Board of Health agent, Mr. Todd Pilling, and he's respectfully requesting to carry over, should we do these as a block or one at one?
You read them and we'll do them as a block.
Okay, so the Board of Health agent, Mr. Pilling, is requesting to carry over 24.04 hours of vacation time. The Board of Health office manager is requesting to carry over 28.5 hours of vacation time into fiscal year 19. The town administrator, and I do have to ask, Madam Administrator, is there a typo on here? Because you asked to carry over overtime. Did you mean vacation time?
Oh, it's supposed to say carry over. Sorry about that.
Vacation time, right? I go,
Vacation
she's
time,
carrying
yeah.
over
Oh my
overtime?
goodness.
I know, I'm like,
No,
why would you
I'm
do that?
not.
Don't do that.
It's vacation. No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
Okay, good thing, right? Good thing
Thank
I
you.
asked.
Sorry about that. It's vacation.
So our town administrators are requesting to carry over 24.83 hours of overtime. We have the sewer commission office manager requesting to carry over 50 hours of vacation time. We have the administrative assistant to the chief of police requesting to carry over 64 hours of vacation time. And last but not least, we have our fire chief requesting to carry over 100 hours of vacation time into fiscal year 19.
I'm going to assume that's because he came in, was appointed.
He had a couple things to do.
And he was appointed
Late in the year.
Exactly.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that the following vacation rollover requests be granted. The Board of Health agent, 24.04 hours. This is administrative assistant, that's not right.
It's office, yeah, it should be office manager. Yep.
Let me change it. The office manager to the Board of Health, 28.5 hours. The town administrator, 24.83 hours. The sewer commission office manager, 50 hours. Administrative assistant to the police chief, 64 hours. And the fire chief, 100 hours.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. The ayes have that. Next on the agenda is correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
Yeah, no.
Oh, perfect. Announcements. Bulky item, and again, for folks watching, these are included in the mass emails and in the Facebook postings every week, Sunday usually. Bulky item pickups, a week has been scheduled for the week of June 11th through June 15th. Tags are available for purchase at the Selectman's office, and the rate sheet is available on the Board of Health webpage on the Town of Dayton website. The Friends of the Dayton Public Library will hold Meet the Candidates Night on June 11th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Dayton Middle School. A special town meeting will be held on Monday, June 4th, 2018 at 6 p.m. at Dayton Middle School and will be immediately followed by the annual town meeting at 7 p.m. Side note, did you have a conversation with someone in the highway department to put those orange flashing thing on William Street that tells us when the town meeting is?
I did not.
That's a really good idea.
Tom did that, whipped that up.
Great idea.
The only
Did you
thing
see that too?
What is it?
It is,
It's a flashing sign, like a traffic sign, but tells everybody that it's like been traveling around town and
Oh,
a handful of
yes,
different
yes.
spots.
It's on
So the
William
only
Street,
thing
yeah.
I had to do with it is he asked me where we should put it.
That's
And
such a
he
good
didn't go
idea.
with my first suggestion, which is totally fine. I love
okay.
that. Because he's like, no, that's not a good idea.
He knows.
But the one on 44 by Zeke's, it was there for a little while.
That's where I saw it the
That's
first
a
time.
high trafficked area,
Does the
so.
sign belong to us?
I believe it does.
Oh, that's
Well,
good.
that is, Mr. Ferry, fantastic work on that. A+ on that idea. Rehoboth Congregational Church will be hosting a community blood drive on Monday, June 4th, 2018, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at 139 Bay State Road, Rehoboth, Massachusetts. The Bristol Agricultural High School graduation will be held tomorrow, Thursday, May 31st, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. in the Carl Spratt Field, right out back at Town Hall. The Dighton-Rehoboth Regional High School graduation will be Friday, June 1st, 2018, 6:30 also. Perfect.
Weather permitting, the football field. My understanding is.
Perfect. That's where they sent us when we would have our bomb threats in the middle of winter. So I'm well acquainted with that football field. Lastly, and probably most exciting, the Lions Club Cow Chip Festival will be held on...
I'm going to stand up.
Vanna? Will be held on June 1st, June 2nd, and June 3rd at Town Hall. I have posted the schedule along with the times to the to our Facebook page. So everything is there. You can also find it on the Lions Club Facebook page as well. Fantastic.
So there's the front. And let the chips fall where they may.
And who are our guest judges?
I am one. I think there's
You
someone
better wear
from Channel
boots.
10, but I don't know. And the third
Maybe
one.
somebody from the Lions Club. Well, I'm always around. Ed said, hey, if we don't, somebody doesn't show up, I says, yeah, I'll do it.
I'm always around.
I
We enjoy it.
I have one announcement.
Sure.
And this is kind of appropriate because of Susan Coleman.
That's the one. Pan Mass.
The Pan Mass Challenge this year is August 4th and 5th. 10,000 cyclists and volunteers will participate in the 39th annual Pan Mass Challenge to benefit the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. The PMC represents over 53% of the Jimmy Fund's annual revenue. Anyone that wishes to contribute, if you go to the PMC website, pmc.org, there's information there. This is the notice I got from Eric Heller, who is the team captain. And what I will say is, this is going to be Eric's 25th year. In 1980, they raised, since 1980, they've raised $598 million. The goal for this year is $52 million. And it's going to be Eric's 25th year, so he sent a picture then and now.
Oh my God, I thought these were two different people.
Well, he was 40 when he started, and he had to raise just under $1,000. That's the minimum you have to raise. Now it's up to $4,900. His personal goal is $12,000.
Wow.
But his team alone has raised well over 100,000. He sent me a lot of other material.
Wow.
But if anyone's looking for a team to sponsor, Hellas on Wheels will be coming through. And what he does every year, besides sending the invitation and telling me how they made out, they raised $51 million. I put that in the report. Anyhow, what Eric does also is he sends on his report, there's a paper with 3 columns. The first one is people who have passed away from cancer. The middle one is people under treatment, and the third column is survivors. And the goal obviously is to eliminate the first column.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that you start with the second column, and eventually that goes away, and you end up with a long list in the third column. So, anyhow, my survivor list has been getting longer, I'm happy to say.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good work. All right. Any other announcements? One other announcement would just be we will be having a Board of Selectmen's meeting next week, even though we are technically on summer schedule. Yes, Mr. Rhines?
Yes, just one announcement. The Community Preservation Commission will be hosting our annual public hearing on June 21st at 7 p.m. in the lower level of Town Hall. that is something that is mandatory by the state law and discusses the needs and possibilities of your community. We'd ask the residents to come in, give us your ideas or what projects do you think would be, you'd like to present to us. And then we would just decide what we'd like to go forward with.
Are these the projects for the next year?
Yes, they would be. The residents would come in, we would give them an application for eligibility, and they would fill it out, return it back to us, and what we do would prioritize those applications to what we, as the committee, would think that we would, go forward with the town meeting. And again, it all goes to the town meeting, it's voted on the town meeting. The committee does not make the decisions on what projects are approved financial-wise. We will make a decision on what project we will go forward with, or a warrant article at town meeting.
So that will be FY '20?
Yes, for FY '20.
Okay.
Correct.
Can I ask you, I just wanted to ask, would the CPC entertain a project that may not be discussed or unveiled at this public hearing for the next year? So let's say, I assume the purpose of the public hearing is to hear possible projects that your commission might be willing to fund in the next year, correct?
Correct.
If there is a project that just doesn't get presented at the public hearing, it just comes about throughout the next fiscal year.
We would accept
You'll
those,
still, okay.
and we have a time frame that we're accepting the applications from July until November. And then we, as a committee, will prioritize those applications, so we have the opportunity to do the research in order for, as an example, we said against the schoolhouse. Unfortunately, the processes didn't coordinate correctly.
Yep.
So now we've learned from that mistake, and now we'll be able to go forward with the rest of the project in the fall next year. So.
For our historical aficionados in town, can you repeat the July through November bit one more time for the camera?
Yes, what the committee does is we accept applications from July 1st until November 30th. The committee will prioritize those applications to see what we would like to go forward with as a committee, as a whole. And then the committee would have that individual applicant come back into us. We would give them the application for funding, and the ball's in their court. But we always work directly with the applicants. We go throughout the whole process in order for the project to come to completion.
So, if anybody is watching, this commission is very strictly tied to Massachusetts general laws and laws governing CPC funds. So if you have an idea, a viable project to preserve our community in mind, your time to submit an application is July through November, correct?
Correct. I would say this is that the committee has accomplished all but one task, and that is the position of affordable housing. And I do believe that the Dayton Housing Authority will come in with an application for a proposed project at that facility. So I would love to see that come to fruition, because that's one of the tasks that we have not completed as a committee. So.
And it's needed.
And it's very needed.
What time was the CPC hearing on June 21st?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. lower level town hall. Is there a minimum amount of money that a proposal would have to meet the criteria for?
Well, there isn't, understandably, by law, because I'll just give you an example. I believe the town of Middleborough had gone out and historically, how do I say this? Restored their historical books within the town hall. So they had gone out to bid, and of course, it only came in like $2,500. It wasn't a lot of money, so. And those books were restored by a historian that came in. So there is no limit, or no minimum, and no limit. But a limit, of course, will be dependent on what is in our budget, so.
That's the limit, of course. Any more announcements? Okay, let's move on to selectmen's reports. I'll be very, very brief because Chairman Gray from the Green Communities Grant Committee came and gave a very brief synopsis of the Green Communities program. We did have Mr. Seth Pickering, the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources Regional Coordinator for the Green Communities program, came in. He did a brief presentation, which again I have here, and I will upload to the website and make sure it gets emailed to everyone using our mass email system. There were people here, which was nice for a public hearing. They had great questions. It's clear to me that the mailer that got mailed to folks, people actually read it. They were generating questions, which is awesome because that's what we want, right? We're here to improve our public engagement. And it was just, I left feeling very encouraged about the turnout and the types of questions asked and the level of interest. So we'll see how it goes. But it was very nice, and it was nice to piggyback off the Right to Farm public hearing, which was very well attended with that. So we beat the planning board on their zoning bylaws public hearing. Did you have any reports, Selectman Goulart?
Just briefly, on May 16th, I reported that the 4 representatives from the town of Dayton had gone to New Bedford Superior Court to respond to an injunction relative to the demolition of a property at 140 Center Street. We received word that the judge ruled in favor of the town. The injunction has been removed, and when the building commissioner is able to get in touch with the contractor, that property will be demolished.
The decision was in our favor. That's the highlight. Okay. Thank you for reporting that.
Yes,
I appreciate that.
The injunction was not sustained. They ruled in the town's favor, yes.
Next, approval of the minutes.
Acknowledgements.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my Lord. I'm writing here. I don't have any. Do we have any specific acknowledgements? I just forgive me if this was said at the last week's meeting. The days kind of blend into one. But Mrs. Brady's work on mailing the warrant and getting the warrant comprised and putting together all the appointments, which then we didn't act on tonight. I apologize for that. It is so appreciated. It's so needed. And
Amazing.
it has been an honor to work with you. An absolute honor.
Thank you for not quitting.
We would have had to do it.
I second that. Thank you for not quitting.
Any other acknowledgements?
Yeah, I would like to thank Don Hershey and everyone involved with the Memorial Day Parade. There was a very good turnout along the parade route. Every place where there were homes or parking lots, I think probably the only place where there weren't people was that stretch of road where the Segregansett River is, where it's all poison ivy and stuff.
That's
but
true.
All along the route and in parking lots, there were families and with their pets. And I think everyone really enjoyed it. The weather cooperated. A thank you to our colleagues from Rehoboth who came over. And the next parade will be in Rehoboth next year. So thank you, John, and for a great job.
And thank you to
And
Rep
this-
Haddad for a couple laughs, too.
Yeah, and also, thank you, Mr. Ferry, for your part in helping out with that parade.
Absolutely.
And the police officers, and the firefighters, and all the town employees that participated.
Absolutely. Very, very well attended and very appreciated. And it was the first time it was held in Dayton, and it didn't get rained out since I got elected, so I actually got to do it, and that was fantastic as well. But amen, Mr. Hershey, you did a fantastic job. He also got that magnetic sticker for the car, for the van.
Oh,
He was
that's an
telling me
announcement.
about
Make
it.
that announcement.
Right?
Don't make that announcement.
It's probably taken off right now.
I noticed that's what Rehoboth has, too.
Yeah, they
What
do.
we're talking about is, there was discussion a few times, 3 times, I think, about marking the veterans agent's vehicle, and he came up with a solution that's very good. There is a magnetic sign that goes on the door that when he needs confidentiality, it's removed. And so he's addressed both issues.
Absolutely.
Good idea,
And it's
Don.
really cool. It has like an eagle on it. I highly suggest everyone go check it out. It's parked at Old Town Hall. Okay, next, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the following selectmen's meetings minutes be approved. May 10th, 2018, March 28th, 2018, and April 11th, 2018.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. The ayes have that one. One thing I did want to mention, and I apologize that I hadn't gotten back to you on it, is the executive session minutes. I do think going forward, we do as a board need to have a meeting or discuss at one of our maybe next week's meeting, sort of a policy for how to do that going forward in terms of getting them approved and then released to the
Releasing them to
public.
the public.
Yep, absolutely. Are you okay with that? It doesn't have to be
well-
next week, but at some
The
point.
law says it has to be done on a certain time period, and it's the
Yes.
chairman, I think, that has to do it.
So, yes, so I had emailed you, and I just said, let's start with your tenure on the board. So I stuck you with 2 years' worth of executive session minutes.
Okay,
but
so I
I'd
will
be
have a
happy to
meeting with
read through them.
myself and
Yeah,
figure that
I'd be
out.
happy to read through them.
I tell you, in all honesty, I don't ever remember a board voting to release minutes. I
Yeah.
just think that and I'm not being critical of the chairman, but I never did it when I was chairman, and I don't think it was done. I don't think it's been done. I mean, there's probably
Okay,
a
so
backlog
going
of-
forward, we're gonna do it.
Absolutely. And I'm willing to go back further than
I
2
mean, well,
years.
right, I mean, I just didn't, I don't know what's fair, so I think 2 years is enough. Again, I'd be happy to do it as well.
In all
We'll pick a
honesty-
time and just keep going.
The other thing would be, anyone who read them would have to understand what was going on at the time to be
Right.
able to recommend to the
That's
board.
absolutely
Exactly.
true.
If you find some that you say, ask me, because I probably can tell you if it concerned litigation or legal action or something like that, I can tell you if it finally got resolved or whatever. But I'm sure going back many years.
We'll let you do 2007 through 2010.
Well, the good news is, it's only from 2010 and beyond that is
Okay.
the
Oh, she's
requirement.
off the hook.
So you are off the hook.
I only have to look
One
at
year.
January to April.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so that's a group effort. We'll
All
just
right.
get started on that.
Absolutely. Approval of the warrants.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the following warrants be approved. 48A-18, in the amount of $93,170.86. Payroll. 48B-18, in the amount of $20,668.24. Payroll. And warrant 48C-18, in the amount of $51,727.37. Accounts payable be approved.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the motion passes. Last but not least, public input. I want to acknowledge Mr. Rhines for hanging in there
I know, I'm
tonight.
really
He's
impressed.
The sole survivor.
Hanging
It was
out
like
with us.
Survivor here tonight.
I just have one thing I'd just like to ask. I know that our administrative assistant does some work on a calculator machine, but sitting here doing some mathematics, 3 years at the amount of money you said comes out to $8,860. Wouldn't it be cheap for the town to buy it outright and contract with a local person who does that?
No, I did some math quickly, and it's,
It's over 9 usually, yeah,
not only that, in 3 years, you're stuck with it.
absolutely.
And
If
we
that
know
thing
how the
breaks down.
technology changes, so that's why, if we've had this one 5 years, yeah, it's time to go.
And the amount of, I don't want to call it abuse, but the amount of copying it does is really exorbitant, so it's
it's
used. I mean,
And
it's
if you buy
used
it,
a lot.
you either gotta buy a service contract on
A
top of the
warranty,
purchase
right.
price, and you gotta buy all your toner and supplies and
Yes.
stuff, that costs an arm and a leg.
Yep.
That's how they make their
So
money.
that's all included then.
For this,
Yes.
yes, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
And the conclusion, Mr. Rhines, is not to do mathematics on a track phone. That's the conclusion tonight. Okay. We're going to move on to, do we have executive
Adjourn?
session?
Not tonight.
Okay.
No. We might, if you agree, next week. I've got something
Okay,
to say,
yeah,
but
it
I
can
don't want to
wait.
load up that meeting. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine. Motion to adjourn, I'm accepting motions.
So moved.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the motion passes. Cable, thank you so much. Go eat, on me.
Go
Not
eat.
really.
I know. I should have a policy that, I know.
Out of Dayton.
One time I waited to get gas